Can I now request Captain S. Krishnamurthy, Chairman, Nautical India's South Branch, to deliver the welcome address and the seminar theme.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, welcome to all of you to this what promises to be a fairly interesting gathering. The Institute, as always, has taken up something that is fairly topical, hot, and also gets quite a few of us bothered. The evolution of the digital ship. Now, I will dispense with the usual blah blah about who we are at the Nautical Institute. I think you heard me say that over and over again several times. I'll probably do a bit of that at the panel discussion. But broadly, the Nautical Institute tries to bridge the gap between technology service providers and their end users on board and ashore. And this is what we hope to bring about in terms of a dialogue, so that we can move forward to sensible technology being placed to the common benefit and shared goals. Of course, the priority remains safety, environmental protection, efficiencies, and sustainability. And I'm sure quite a few of you would have heard us repeat time and again that the Institute is providing inputs to the Rolls-Royce project on the autonomous ship. Many of us have questioned our wisdom on why we are doing that. The way we look at it is this technology is inevitable. It's going to happen one way or the other. Might as well make sure that some sensible logic goes into the development of such a project, and what implications it has in terms of the human element is something very close to the Institute's heart. Yes, we will, as we see the evolution of the digital ship moving eventually to the gold standard of the autonomous ship, we will be seeing certain old skill sets becoming redundant. So you probably won't have Bada Saab generating consistent ROBs and consumptions on a daily basis in the noon chit. You won't have masters generating weather to suit the speed. Not really have second mates having true noons and false noons, as I remember in my old days. I used to do you still do it, guys? One false noon, one new noon, adjust the general average speeds. These skill sets are disappearing. It's a very open world that we live in today. Everything is open to scrutiny. The information of everything that happens, even in a remote location like a ship, is now open to public. What we have been seeing so far is bits and pieces of technology coming to us. At Sanmar, we see some vendors developing something and showing it to us, but we have never really got a overall picture. And it's always been bothering me that we need to start to see, at least get all these service providers under one roof, or as many as we can, and try and see the large picture. And that is what this effort has led to. Of course, I need to say the program here, given that I'm a lazy guy, was driven entirely by Chartworld, who have been kind enough to partly sponsor this program. They are fairly passionate about the products that they deliver, EGDIS and ENCs, and on the concept of e-navigation, improving navigational effectiveness and efficiencies. So thank you, and beyond words, really, I thank the company of Master Mariners. They are really been a tremendous support in co-hosting this event. Ajay here has been doing outstanding work in putting this all together. Now, what we hope to achieve today is you have a fairly stellar sort of set of speakers coming out here, is to gain a holistic understanding of, if not the technology, at least the application of technologies like artificial intelligence. You keep hearing these words: machine learning, cyber security, big data analytics. What exactly does it mean? Telemetry. And what does it mean to us as mariners? How does it change the way we operate our ships? And to us as managers, how it affects what we deliver to our clients and stakeholders. We have, I would like to think that we carefully selected our speakers, but actually it just happened, and it panned out very well. We have 3 speakers from the industries, shipping industry. Captain Amit Anshu sitting here has come from Maersk Tankers, and I think that's quite an achievement to get Maersk to come over and speak to us. We've been at it for last 4 years to come and try and share some of your initiatives in what you're doing in terms of technology, and it is really nice to be able to speak to somebody who's put it to work and speak to us about the challenges you probably have faced and what exactly it means to the rest of us in the industry. We also have of course, our apologies, Stefan Dimke, who's supposed to come from Singapore, from Chartworld, had some visa issues and unable to make it here. I thought I could have Sayanthan here as his double, but I don't think they even look remotely alike. So we decided, I mean, if this is going to be a tech seminar, we should get Stefan up there on the VC. So we are all set for that. Great. So Stefan will be out there. He'll be happy to give you a presentation of what Chartworld is doing in the area of e-navigation. And then we have Ramesh Iyer coming from Mariab's Marine Solutions, Kochi, sitting out here, and he will speak to you about the actual application. Now these 3 are mariners or ex-mariners, so you will be able to see the traction. One of the things NI has been doing is also once in a while try and get some non-shipping industry speakers so that we gain an insight into what the rest of the world is doing in terms of technology or various subjects that we speak about. So we're very fortunate to have, or will be having in a couple of hours or in an hour or so, an expert on cyber security from KPMG, Mayuran Palniswamy. He'll be here, and also to speak to you about data, the big data, or rather the application of big data, what it does to business, what it does to the human element. The business head of Vodafone, Chennai or Tamil Nadu Circle. So he'll be here also a little later, but he'll be here with us. So sit back, relax, have a meaningful conversation. After the initial presentations by the speakers, we will get them back here on the panel. In case you're wondering why those seats are empty, it's because they can't crane their neck and look at the presentation. So we thought we'd best seat them here for the moment and get them back here for the panel discussion, where I hope you will engage in a meaningful dialogue to try and understand what this digital ship is all about. So good luck, have fun, and thank you for coming here.
Thanks, Krish. It's my pleasure to introduce Captain Amit Anshu, Commercial Manager, Maersk Tankers. Master Mariner served on oil and chemical tankers, bulk and general cargo ships, as well as on OSVs. He's been working ashore with Maersk Mumbai since 2010. He's been involved with Maersk Tankers' transition of their operations to Mumbai in 2013, and now heads a team of 23 operators handling about 150 tankers. Executive MBA from IIM. If that's not enough, well, he delivered a project of hybrid automobile petrol engine using compressed air. And if that is not enough as well, he's co-produced a movie called O's, based on a true story. So that's what he does in his off time. So I welcome Captain Amit Anshu to deliver the keynote address, please.
Thanks, Captain Krish, and thanks everyone for your presence. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start, I would like to thank Nautical Institute and CMMI for giving us at Maersk this opportunity to speak on this forum. When Captain Krish called, I could not refuse. I don't know who he was getting in touch with earlier. So I decided to fly directly from Mumbai and attend this session. And yeah, it's a great honor to be here. I will start my presentation, but before I start, I just want to give a little brief about why I'm speaking here. So today you will have a whole gamut of speakers, 5 of us actually, who will try to speak on the digitization and technological advancement in the world of shipping. We will try to address all these situations, and day by day the emergence of technology, artificial intelligence, disruptive events happening. You might have seen a lot of them, and that brings on the table excitement, what is there in future, and also apprehensions in our mind. Like we already heard about the Rolls-Royce doing unmanned things. So we all are excited. At the same time, we all have doubts what will happen to us. So with that note, let me start the presentation. I have already been introduced, so I will skip this slide which talks about me. My presentation will be split into 3 parts. One, of course, because I am here, I would like to speak a little bit about Maersk Tankers. Then something about the things that Maersk Tankers is doing in the field of digitization and innovation. And then the third part would be what lies ahead. Yeah, so in Maersk Tanker, we are one of the parts of the energy value chain. Something is highlighted in yellow, which is the shipping, and which you all are familiar with. That's where Maersk Tanker lies, and we take care of that part of the business. The other parts you can just ignore. Of course, it's McKinsey data that is lying there, which shows that 20% of our trade routes worldwide covers for 70% of the petroleum products that are carried. Now at Maersk Tankers, we want to deliver, using the digital technology, the best possible experience to all of you. But we truly believe that our employees are very, very important. So we use digitization, innovation in science and technology just to improve our efficiency, make our processes better than before. We also use advanced analytics to make our decisions better. In other words, you can say that technology just reassures us in our decision making. We still give the same importance to our employees, and probably that is what shows with the low rate of attrition with our sailing staff as well as shore staff. I will broadly cover 6 topics, 6 of the topics, let me put it that way, which form a part of the digital journey that Maersk Tankers is taking. Of course, we are the pioneers. We are doing a lot for the first time. There are few things which nobody else has thought or done, and there are certain things which you will see are there, but we are doing it differently. We want to do same thing which everyone else is doing, but in a different way. Sim tanker is one of the 6 things that I would like to cover. Sim stands for simulator, and tanker we all know. So here what we are doing in this sim tanker is we are using our own almost 20 years of data and also the market analytics and market information that is available. We merge them, we use predictive models, use advanced analytics to predict about the voyages of the ship. So sim tanker basically covers the whole fleet, each voyage and the voyage after that. We utilize our alpha model, which is developed in-house, our beta model, and a lot of other things which predicts about the future. You must have played the game of chess, wherein we don't put only one move at one time. While we do the move, we also think about the next one. So here in this, we basically not only do the current voyage, but we see it at a fleet level. If ship A does this, how will ship B, which is also one of our ships, be affected? And if I land up at a particular geography, what will happen after that? So we want to utilize the best and in the most efficient way all our ships. And by all ships, I mean not only the ships which are there, but we also own and operate 5 different pools. So when I say all the ships, which means all the ships that are either owned by us or either one of the pool partners vessel. This also produces the trade signals, like at times you see that there could be DPP improving, or maybe it is at this time maybe not, I would not say loss making, but maybe at a little discount we take a gasoline voyage, because once I reach at a particular place, I would get a naphtha voyage maybe at a much higher premium, because we foresee that there will be a lot of movement of naphtha from geography A to geography B. So it also gives us trade signal. As of now, we don't have any ambition of sharing it with the broader forum, but it is being used internally. Now the next thing is sim bunker, again simulation of bunker. Bunker is very expensive thing, and it comprises like all the voyage costs. It is the majority of the commercial cost of a voyage. Almost 40 to 50% of the voyage, for those who are not aware, is on account of bunker only. So we at Maersk thought that why don't we optimize this? So here we want to chase the dollar, which means utilization of bunker as well as procurement of bunker. That means in the procurement, this system would tell us where, how much, at what price. So we plan our bunkering end to end basis this. also on the utilization part, we want to optimize, which means we either adjust, optimize our routes, or we optimize our speed. This is just a screenshot of the slide, which is superimposed on a fleet map, that is our own ships. You see that there are some curves and graphs. I know it is not very clear, but what I wanted to highlight here is that we use the graphs, how the vessel earns and how the speed would impact. Like if I go 12, whether it will be beneficial, because we have already fed in the daily earning of the ship, we call it time charter equivalent or TCE. So it will tell us precisely whether I need to go at 12.4 or 12.5, what is the best speed. It will also keep into mind the next possible voyage, whether I am getting late in terms of Laken for the next voyage or not. So it gives us end-to-end solution. The byproduct of this was recently, like you see the map which is behind the graph, recently there was a tsunami in Sunda Strait. And I immediately jumped into the fleet position and I could see and spot which are the 3 ships that we had close to that. Immediately got into that. Of course, this was not the intent, but this is a byproduct, I would say, of the same. Wherein map is one layer of information, we overlay a lot of things, which is also the market information, speed, and the voyage specific things. Then, as I mentioned, we also operate into 5 pools, which means we have to cater to customers. And pool, wherein different ship owners pool in the ships on one platform and we manage them commercially. Which means we are calling the shots on somebody else's behalf. It is but natural that trust and transparency are the essence of this business. So using the digital information, we have formed this tool wherein each pool partner on a daily basis, almost on a daily basis, they get live data, how their ships are performing, what earnings they should expect, how the other people are performing, where are they standing in terms of relative performance, and what they should do. How should they make the course corrections, speak to their master or speak to us as pool managers, and improve on the overall financial health of the ship. This is something which hit the news. Anyone is aware of this, what this picture depicts? Yes? Sorry? Absolutely, sir. You are.
We did a project in Amet on this.
Oh, that's great. That's great, and good to have great people from Amet also here. I would again repeat, it's an honor to be in front of you, sir. Yeah, so this is, in layman's world, wind sail. This is one of our ships, Musk Pelican. First tanker to have this. So far, there are 3 real test models run globally. We are one of them, first tanker to do this. So precisely, don't get into the details, but what I want to say is that this is another engineering marvel which is helping us in reducing the carbon footprint because it is giving us efficiency. This is a 30-meter tall, 5-meter wide cylindrical rotor. It is moved vertically, around its vertical axis by a motor, which of course uses electricity for movement and uses the principle of Magnus effect. Again, I will just simplify it. Let's not get into the jugglery of what is Magnus effect. But when there is a rotating object passing across any, say for example a ball is rotated and thrown, there will be some thrust applied to it in a particular direction. So what we do here, once we are out at sea, it starts rotating vertically. The speed is used using technology, what speed we should rotate it, which direction which it should rotate, and then eventually what happens, at the 90 degree of the direction of the wind, there is a, so we adjust the direction and speed of rotation in such a way that the thrust is always supporting the propeller push. Yeah, exactly. These are some of the things that are put on the bridge, but the graph I want to highlight, of course it might not be legible to everyone, maybe even the people sitting in front, but what I'm trying to highlight is it's a real graph of one day towards end of December. I've just picked up the graph from 29th of December, which shows that on that particular day we saved 5.7 metric tons of bunker. This is LR2 size vessel. She was in laden condition, so you can understand what impact it has. Theoretically, we hope that it will give us an efficiency of 7 to 10%. Now the next topic, don't try to read it. It is just talking about PMS, which means technology and PMS, or maybe computer based PMS, is there everywhere, right? So what are we doing differently? We have supplied our ships with this tablets. It's a robust, rugged tablet which even if falls in engine room, it will not get damaged. And what in turn it does, it really helps our engineers when they are carrying out PMS. It also helps us in tracking the inventory of different stores, spares kept in the various stores of the ship. It's a live thing. It's continuously connected to shore. I think every half an hour it gets connected when we dock it after carrying out maintenance. So all these spares on our ships are barcoded. If you receive a new store, you can just connect it, just click a picture, it will tell you what will be the barcode, and it is connected to a printer, barcode printer. It will print a barcode for you. You just paste it on the spare. So next time when you carry out maintenance, you can either flash the spare which will be used for that, and it will automatically adjust the inventory, or maybe as soon as you take this at the site of maintenance, you click that, you choose that maintenance, it will suggest that probably you have used this. Of course there is a manual override, because there at times you might take out something and realize that you don't need a replacement, but this will suggest you that this is one of the spares that you might be using. Sometimes there could be some additional spares that you would be required to use. So it is ship and shore connection, and through this we are updating every inventory and PMS things. This is the first time being done on any of these ships. Again, coming back to the pool structure, as I have mentioned earlier, we have to be transparent, but at the same time different ships, all 5 fingers are not same, right? So some ships would be very efficient, some ships would be managed by banks, some ships would be managed by very efficient seafarers who know what is the crux of the matter, how to run the ships efficiently. So you have a full spectrum of people handling this ship, but our end goal is to maximize the profit for everyone. At the same time, we can't give, like, there could be some ships which perform better than the others, right? So we use these two tools to monitor the performance of the ships and reward them accordingly in the ratio of how they are performing. First thing is CMMI, which is in-house developed. It just helps the vessel. It is installed on these ships, can be easily sent over email when there is a ship joining us, and they feed in the data. It is used to report noon messages, but it can be more frequent if there are changes or other things. It can be more frequent. You can send report as many times as you want using the CMMI. And the vessel performance, that other thing is VPS, that helps us analyze the data. It creates the trend of that particular vessel, of that sister class of ship, of that particular fleet, of that segment. Whichever way you want to dissect your data, it will help you, give you information about it, and then we also come forward with suggestions. We go back to the masters and chief engineers that maybe you can do this. Many times we learn good practices because we are the commercial operators, so we from some owner we learn good practices and we pass it on to everyone. We ourselves, it's a very dynamic thing, like you all know, right? Nobody is perfect. We are in a moving world where everyone learns from each other. So we also use, after the advanced analytics is used, we also use this data to enhance everyone's performance and overall increase the profits, which is the bottom line or end goal of everyone. So this just shows, on top is the ship which uses CMARC. It sends us the data either via email or maybe using the internet. Then you can see in the middle there is office. At office we feed this data. It is actually automatically fed in. We input this data and the data is analyzed, and then at the end of the day, basis the analysis, there are a lot of filtering criterias because there could be bad weather, a lot of things, or maybe because of the typo. So there are a lot of validations also are done at either at the ship stage before the things are transmitted, or maybe at a later stage. When we analyze, we go back to the vessel and maybe request them to correct. So then at the end we analyze and we reward each pool partner according to the performance of their ship. Two MRs, somebody who's doing better, like the chief engineers are more efficient, or maybe the engine is more efficient, they maintain good practices and other things, so they should get more benefit, because at the end of the day bunker is forming 40 to 50% of our voyage cost. Again, complex graph, don't get into that. All that I want to highlight here is how we are using graph and analysis to show, like there are certain things in the graph, like this graph is depicting main engine, auxiliary engine, everything is there, boiler. So there are certain things which are picked up, there are certain things which are outlier, there are certain things which we feel that we need clarification about, and it is auto flagged. So we will go back to the vessel and ask them for clarification and take the course correction thereon. On a continuous basis, we also monitor our hull performance. The lower graph that you see, it is growing continuously, going up, and then suddenly there is a gap. The gap is because as soon as we realize that the hull performance is deteriorating, there is a trend, not on a single event, but there is a trend of deterioration by about 10 to 15%. We would like to clean the hull of the ship, and then at the first opportunity we clean the hull, and then this is one of the actual examples. You see a drop in consumption of the ship. The bar diagrams are just trying to show like how we analyze the sister class of ships. So there are three things actually superimposed. Just pick up one of the graphs. There is one graph which is in blue that shows one of the ships, each ship of that sister class. Then there is a black bar dotted diagram in between, which is the benchmark for that particular class of the ships. And then there are certain white segments also that just shows that that particular ship is performing better and lower than the better than the rest and lower than the benchmark. And then we go back to those ships, ask what practices are they following, what are the best practices that they are doing, and share it across. Go back to the others, and this data is shared with all the sister class ships, so that if others are doing, why can't I? Something of that sort is triggered. Now this slide is my last slide, just to summarize what I have said and what lies ahead for us in terms of where we see ourselves. So I have covered about how we use algorithms and analytics and market information, merge them at one place. We call it active position taking, wherein we basis the data analysis, we decide where to place our ships, when to pick up a voyage, and at what price. No model is correct, so I would not like to say that we are always correct, but trust me, we have been beating our competition. for the few quarters. Market is not doing well, but we are relatively doing better. It is just because of the algorithms that we use in trading our ships. Then the second thing, digital tanker, that talks more about the future. Our sister company Maersk Line is already doing a lot of things about the predictive maintenance. Currently we have not started, but there are a lot of data points that we are getting from our ships. Like in the analysis part, or when I was talking about sim bunker, we have our own experience of about 20 years, lot of data points. So we can of course forecast, but cannot be 100% sure because it's a model. If I pick up gasoline on account of BP or Shell from Amsterdam, and even if charters are indicating that the vessel will go to West Africa, most likely Lome, we would forecast and assume that maybe we will end up in Lagos. So that is what we are doing. So exactly same way, we have a lot of parameters getting from the engine. We can foresee the, plot the trend and foresee where probably we will need to carry out a maintenance, not as per the PMS, but probably predictive maintenance, I would say. And then I have also touched base upon the pool platform, whereas we want to give them the best experience using the digital interface, which is the third part. We give them transparency about their day-to-day performance and enhance their experience as a customer, maximize our profits for the benefit of everyone. That is all from my side. Thank you so much. I think I was within time.
Next speaker, of course, he's not here like Krish mentioned, Stephen. Stephen couldn't join because of some visa issues, but Stephen will be with us on video conferencing. A little bit about Stephen. Stephen is the Managing Director of Chartworld Asia Pacific Private Limited, Singapore, and has been in this organization since 2011. Stephen started his maritime career as a navigator in the German Navy and studied economics at Hamburg University. He is an acknowledged expert in global digital navigation and has redefined the integration of ECDIS with ENCs for further enhanced user interface experience. Stephen is assisted here by Sayan. Sayan is the regional sales manager for Chartworld and is based out of Singapore. He is a network and communication engineering specialist with over 6 years experience in shipping and offshore industry. Over to Stephen and Sayan, please.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sayan. I'm from Chartworld, Singapore. Thank you for the introduction, Captain. A sincere thanks to Captain Krish, to all the attending members of Nautical Institute. It is really an honor to present Chartworld in front of all of you and share our insights about digital ship. First of all, I should change the slide. All right. Okay. So the presenter for the evening is Stefan. Stefan is the Managing Director of Chartworld Asia Pacific in Singapore. He's based in Singapore, but due to some issues, he could not make it today. But we have him over here on Skype and on. Let me just connect you.
Good. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am the idiot that missed the flight because I didn't check my visa. I am very sorry for that. Saying that, I think why I will talk a little bit about autonomous shipping. Perhaps it's an interesting experiment to do an autonomous presentation. I'm sitting here in the Chartworld Presentation Operations Center in Singapore and will do from now on everywhere in the world only autonomous presentation because it's much easier for me for traveling. Good. What we will do today, I will switch my screen between the presentation and myself and the real actors, and we'll show you some things. And I will start with the presentation and talking about Chartworld and 7 Seas for people that don't know us, 3 minutes about our companies, then autonomous shipping, cybersecurity, and last but not least, but the most important part, what are the effects of the human element on board of the vessels. Good, let's start. Chartworld and 7 Seas. these two companies have been owned until 2011 directly by the UKHO. And in 2011, my partner and I bought these two companies from the UKHO and started this Actors as a Service project with Chartworld. Chartworld is customer of 7Cs. I talked first about 7Cs. 7Cs is the company that more or less invented the ENC as it is at the moment. It is a manufacturer of maritime SDKs, and a lot of major actors manufacturers are using their kernel to present official ENCs in their software. And next to that, a lot of Navy applications are using the kernel of 7Cs. And the simple reason for this is we are doing software made in Germany, and a lot of NATO navies really like software that is produced in a NATO country and not somewhere else in the world. And Chartworld, as I said, customer of 7Cs, using the kernel for its actors, the eGlobe actors, and we pretend to be digital navigation experts. And as Chartworld is one of the few companies that producing actors and also supplying digital data and charts, I think we are also the actors, and I hope I can prove it in the next slides. Otherwise, you can tell me later on.
Sorry, Stefan, sorry. The presentation is not visible yet, so...
Why not?
You haven't changed the screen, I think. You try again.
Why not telling me earlier?
Yeah.
Better now? Good. So, it was not, I said everything was on the screen anyhow. And Chartworld is the one that, the company that implemented this Actors as a Service concept in the world. That is, we are not selling actors. We are like a mobile phone contract. We are taking care of the ISM procedures, the training concept and training, maintenance, for sure the actors itself, and digital data supply. And the customer is not buying it, but giving us a fee so that we take care. And we have open offices after we bought it in Cyprus, Hamburg, Singapore, and Japan recently. And that is what we are doing. So that's enough about my company. Now we're talking about autonomous shipping. What is that? Autonomous shipping, I think it will come earlier or later. At the moment, we are in the process, like my colleague from Maersk said, we automate processes on board of the vessel. Yeah, so we're looking into processes where computers are better as human beings, or where computer can assist the human that has to do this task. And the bottleneck for autonomous shipping and all this task at the moment is communication still. Even though companies like Maersk implemented Visa, there's at least 40–50% vessels still operating with emails. Yeah, and I'm coming back to this when we're talking about cybersecurity. At the moment, ships are not connected to internet, but only have emails. And if you show me how to steer a vessel with emails, then come to me. I'd like to see that. That will be quite interesting. I think vessels with no crew on board, or really only some, will come in areas where the maintenance of the vessels is not a so big problem, like tugboats. I think even Maersk is working on this, or ferries in Scandinavia. This will come. The rest of the solar vessels going worldwide, we will only see, I think, an evolution instead of a revolution, where the task, some tasks or a lot of tasks of the mariner on board will be taken over by the computer, so that the mariner can concentrate on his main task, taking decisions based on qualified information. Good. And as I said, we at Chartworld are more in automating shipping and in autonomous shipping. And two examples are the CATSOC functionality in an Actors and the TMP implementation in ENCs into Actors. And these are the two topics that I will show what is already happening now on the way to an autonomous or a more automated ship. And the base of these functionalities are some document articles. For example, the Guide to Safe Navigation from Intertanko here came out 2017, or an article later on of the Nautical Institute in the next slide. These documents are forcing the sailor to focus on some topics using an Actors that I think it's really important. And for example, CATSOC and TMP notices are two of these topics. Here you see the header of an article of one of your colleagues from Nautical Institute, Richard Leadham. And when I read this article, I thought, wow, finally, Someone nailed it and understood CATSOC completely. But in the end, he did the same mistake that a lot of shipping companies are doing. He reduced CATSOC to a tool that is only used on a voyage plan, paper voyage plan on the vessel, and not really used in the actors to full content. And this is CATSOC in general. This is from MP 100, the table. All navigator in the room, this will be interesting for them. For the rest, it's most probably a little bit boring, but I will go on anyhow. What I don't like on this table is that it's a little bit confusing for the user. And I will also tell you why. On column number 1 on the left side, you've got the stars and the category A1, A2, B, C, and D. In the actors, there's only stars. Yeah? So why do we have 2 different categories? It can only confuse and lead to errors. Yeah? This is what I don't like on the CATSOC concept. What I also think we could do better on the CATSOC concept is category D in the second column. It's saying, for example, it's worse than C. And then now it's up to the poor shipping company or sailor itself to define what is worse than C. If we want to automate and standardize processes in shipping, then things like this should not happen in future anymore. This is up to definition of every shipping company. Everyone is doing this differently. So how should we standardize this overall fleet, for example? And then last but not least, on this side, the U, unassessed, category U, unassessed. Unassessed means only that the nation that is producing this chart didn't spend the time and the money to assess in which other category this chart should be. That does not mean that it's definitely worse than D. Because if they spend the time and money, it can be only A1 to D. And there's a little bit, this is the big problem of CATSOC. There's a big confusion how to use it. In the paper chart world, it was quite easy. There was a paper chart and there was a date, 1977, when I was born. Yeah, this was the last survey, the data on this chart have been done. And then the second mate could estimate, okay, from my experience, this data is good, or I put a little bit more safety contour, safety margin to all my planning on the chart, and then was fine. Now with CATSOC, we've got real numbers here. And the problem is, if you've got numbers, some people in the shipping, they then want to take this number to avoid to go to some ports or say, no, it's unsafe here. And that is wrong from my point of view. CATSOC is a risk control measure. Yeah, and this additional plus minus 20 or 50 meters should only be used for a risk control system and force the user later on to start to use speed or be a little more careful earlier. And I will show you later on the actors how I think it should be done. And this is the part where the shipping companies at the moment are quite good at. This is the part that this way or a little bit different. Most of the shipping companies have implemented CATSOC in their voyage planning. Yeah, they took the static draft of the vessel and the lowest spotted depth, and then they put the squat effect on the draft and the CATSOC on the lowest spotted depth. And in between there's then under clearance, and you have to say then, yeah, that's fine, I can go there or not. The issue here now is that they did this in the voyage plan. It is a plan next to the actors, fine. But this plan is simply not avoiding groundings. It is the actors. Yeah, and how to get this data and which of this data you're taking later on into the actors. What is the safety contour value of all this data? This is important. That is often not really defined. And if this is defined, then you thought about the vertical adjustment of CATSOC. But as you saw on the table before, there's also a horizontal adjustment of CATSOC. So a buoy that is displayed on the chart can be, because of not perfect quality of the chart, can be perhaps a little bit more north or south or east or west. And that is, first of all, not in the voyage plan, and second of all, not so often taken into account in the actors, and often the poor second mate completely left alone how to do that. So, and we're going now into the actors, and I will present you how we could do this better on the chart world side. So what we have here, everyone sees my actors, hopefully. This is the eGlobe actors from Chartwell. And we're here in front of US. And the United States said we don't have the time, or we don't want to assess this, we don't follow this, everything is U. And U means the quality of this chart is, at least we could think about if it's the best quality. And if we are planning now a little route, I plan a route, waypoint number 1, home waypoint number 2. Oh, I have to check this. So we check this, and it is safe. Yeah, so we've got the route, we planned this from here to there. It's a very simple route, and it's safe. A 30-meter safety contour. Yeah, 30-meter safety contour means that the axis is indicating the next higher safety contour line as the area where you should do another risk assessment before you would cross it. And this is the 18.2-meter line. So what the second mate have to do now on every voyage he's planning, imagine he's doing a planning from Singapore to India and from India to Hamburg, my hometown. He has to do this on the complete voyage. He has to think now, looking into this table of CATSOC, I've got a CATSOC table here, and see you and have to set on you in this area with 10-meter depth. Because it's you, I have to, for example, add 12 meter. That is up to the shipping company to define this. 12 meter I have to add there. And I have to add on the safety contour 12 meter because the quality of chart is perhaps not so good or not so reliable. Then it means, this simply means that you have to perhaps start to do the risk assessment, if you can go in this area, one safety contour earlier, and that is this one. And that, without any help of a computer, is the manual process that the second mate needs to do. Because after the presentation library update 2 years ago, only safety contour values are giving alarms, and that are the only depth-related values that that needs to be taken into account if planning a route. If you want to use the safety depth soundings, then later on we talk about no-go areas, but this is the pure active functionality, safety contour values. So, and that the second mate could do this automatically, manually, or we said, why doing this automatically? Now we said, this is a process where a computer could help to indicate the areas of the route from Singapore via India to Germany, where perhaps a second view is necessary. And if we're checking now this use CATSOC for the route check, and we check it again, saying here always that I don't order all charts because I didn't order an overview chart, but now it's saying dangerous, please have a second view. And the act is exactly doing what I just said. Even though we're operating in an area that is normally fine for our depth, it's indicating please start the risk assessment a little bit earlier, perhaps slow down the speed, look on your squad, and start already when crossing the higher safety contour. And that is, as I said, this is using the vertical adjustment of cuts in the axis. Yeah, that is important. Here you're doing anti-grounding. Yeah, and then another example, this is now what, as I said, not so many people are doing at all, the horizontal one. So looking at something very bad in the axis. Well, stop that now. Now we are changing our route to this. This is not a helicopter landing area. This is an isolated danger. You see it here. An isolated danger is a dangerous object, a normally otherwise safe area from safe contour values, the wreck or something like this. So, and as you can see, including the safe cross-track distance, I'm planning the route now next to this, all fine. Yeah, so every axis without this functionality will indicate now this route is safe. And now again, I look here. Yeah, on you, we say, if possible, look if you plan to put 1,500 meters on top of every object that is near to your route. And we're doing this check again, and it will indicate you, and it's not saying that it will only indicating you, here you could have another look. And if you've got so much space in the south, yeah, why not planning this route, the tool is saying then, why not planning the route like this? And then this is fine. Now we see the issue that starting the risk control of the next higher safety contour line, but on the horizontal part, we have a safe route. And that is how CATSOC, as risk control measure, can be used in the actors in an efficient way and make navigation safer. Yeah, because we automate this. We stop this now. So the other thing that I wanted to talk to you was TMP notices. Yeah, you remember this. And for that, I will first of all delete this route. We don't need this anymore. And I will go to an area that is more familiar to you. We're going to India. So, and in India, we have here an area AIO is already switched on. You know, TMP notices. TMP notices, 38% of all HOs still don't implement temporary and preliminary notices in their weekly updates. The other 60% are doing this in the weekly updates. But for the 38%, the poor second mates still have to enter the TMP notices all over the world, where he's going, if the voids change or not, into the chart to make a qualified decision later on, because you need to up, according to SOLAS, all adequate charts up to date by all possible means. So, and the UKHO helped the sailor by generating this AIO, yeah, not chart world, Admiralty Information Overlay. Yeah, as you can see now on the chart, if I switch it off, nothing is shown. The UKHO helps the sailor dramatically in indicating here, in front of India, we've got a T notice active. And if we're going now with the PIC report and looking what's happening here, then we have here temporary notice. We open this, and it is saying here, second mate, here we have got a underwater acoustic Doppler, and you have to enter this here. So please don't drop an anchor here. But the second mate has to enter this here because AIO is only indicating somewhere in this area this is happening. Yeah? That does not help if you're planning a route later on. There are some actors that indicate if crossing an AIO, please be careful, here's an AIO, but the object is not entered. And the same thing here, no overlay. That is a functionality of AIO that not so many people really know. Most probably all of you know, but I will talk about this anyhow. If you're going now on no overlay, there's some info, and here the UKHO is saying, hello, Mr. Second Mate, for this, in this area, we don't have any TMP notices because this area, this UKHO is not producing a paper chart in the same scale. And the UKHO is only producing TMP notice in their notice to mariners for areas where they've got paper charts. Because they don't have the paper chart, no NTM, and they're getting the data for the AIO from the NTM, so they also don't have any information in the AIO. But they're saying now it could happen that the National Hydrographic Office, in this case India, is issuing the temporary preliminary notice. So go somewhere and find out if there's something is available. This is quite a complicated process for the shipping companies, especially for the ships, because, as we just said, not so many ships are equipped with internet. So somehow they need to get the information from the hydrographic offices all around the world that are affected here and get this information, yeah, to make a qualified decision when it's coming to route planning. And here again, if you think about the route from Singapore via India to Hamburg, it is quite a lot of things the second mate has to think about. Because, first of all, he has to define with 38% of this voyage are affected, and 60, I don't have to do anything. And then he has to enter this. Or, Chartwood thought that is actually often container in Germany asked us to do something against it, and we helped it, and we created CIO Plus. And CIO Plus is a mariner object use chart. And if, for example, here we're indicating that we're going from Singapore to this area, we have these charts, and see now we have no object in. Now I can switch. First of all, I can check with AIO. Yes, this is exactly what should be there. But I can switch off AIO now, and then I have got like the chart. This is the chart for navigation. And what I have here now is now exactly this underwater object that should be entered there, and it's indicated in red. So if you're planning a route over it, you will get an alarm. And two other interesting things are part of this. The buoy here is an IN 179 T notice or P notice from the Indian Hydrographic Office. So also this is implemented there. And no one needs to look for this in the internet or get it from the Indian Hydrographic Office. We did it for them. We entered it them. They can cross-check it for sure. And in other areas, like, for example, China, also the language, we did it once for them with some hydrographers from the German Hydrographic Office. In our database, it's all done, updated for the second mate. And on 1,000 vessels using the service, if there's also something wrong with one of these entries, 1,000 vessels are cross-checking if this information are correct and doing a risk control measure for the user of the CO Plus and for us. So it is the complete group is verifying this information if they are correct. And on top of that, also you can see here enough area warnings at this position. We will have to check, give us more information. Give me, where is my boy that should be there? Here it is, yeah? So here this boy, the enough area warning here is indicating that this boy is not there. I can go a big report, believe me, in this case. Yeah, so if you're going there and you see something on the open sea, it is not this boy. Yeah, because it's not there. And this needs to be entered also by the segment normally into the chart. And this is completely automated. Yeah, and this is, again, a process where a computer can really help the crew on board to focus on the important things, planning a route, and later on executing and taking decision based on qualified information. Good. Enough in the actors. I'll be going back to my presentation. Where is it? That one. Yeah. And this is a graph of the Paris MOU. I looked into this 2 weeks ago. These are the figures from 2018. And as you can see on the left side, digital publication charts are on the top 4. Yeah? So we could improve things there because these are somehow critical issues where the master and the secretary on board could get help, and we try to do that. Cybersecurity. What does that mean? 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I heard the first time that we've got a cyber security problem on ships. And that was the time when 70% of all vessels operated with emails max. Yeah, 4 megabytes per more is not possible. And we had a problem with cyber security. And ships could be steered from ashore. As I said, it's quite unlikely with emails. But it was good that this discussion started at that time, because we are starting to integrate more and more of the systems into networks, and also internet connection with the ship can come. So what we have to do here is we have to find out where are the issues, yeah, and we have to take the human element into responsibility and train them, and we have to then also implement risk control measures. What we do, the first step at Chartwork, that is not so much autonomous shipping or digital shipping, but we help our customers to set up a good process, ISM process for cybersecurity risk assessment. The base of all is the IEC 26001 that is asking to do something on this until 2021. And the IMO is giving some guidance how to do this. And we as Chartwork picked the IEC 611624060. And that is a standard normally used for making your communication, ship's communication cyber secure. Yeah? I will talk about this later. And what you then, as I said, what has to be done here is identifying the risk, give responsibility in this to the crew, because at the moment still the crew is the biggest risk for cybersecurity, not because they want to do this, but it's so easy for them to make mistakes. Yeah, so train the crew and then put in risk control measures in place so that they can't do so much. And our way, as I said, is this. This is our Chartwork eChart Secure Gateway. This is the first gateway that is certified by DNVGL together with the Actis according to this standard that I will not talk about again. This one, here, this is too hard to pronounce it. Yeah, so we use the communication system standard together with Actis and this gateway. That means that even if your comp system is not certified against this standard or with this standard, you can use this box and the Actis, and you are, at least on the Actis, you are safe. And what this box and the Actis is doing, the Actis is sealing all USB ports from software side, and this you can only use the USB ports on this box. Yeah? And this box is connected directly from the Actis to your comp system to our server, and is only allowing our data to go through. And to be on the very safe side, thanks to the European Union and the new data protection rules, we are started now last year already to do also stress tests in our office there, so that the complete process from the server to the Actis is completely secure. And I have to say it again, the human being don't want to do mistakes, but it can do more mistakes than computer. And with this tool, we reduce it to a minimum. Human element. Now, we talked about all this improvements on our side on actors and digitalization, and now the human element. They are getting so much information, and as I said, we have to help them with, take the right decisions. Yeah, and we've got three elements that we're doing. It is first of all procedures. We are looking in continuous training programs, and we want to automate digital data supply. And as with before with this cybersecurity, the start for the secure and easy handling of ships is a good plan. And this is, in our case, we name it eQuip. This is our actors ISM document. It is doing a risk assessment. It is including a training part. It is including the actors procedure itself. It is looking in E&C handling and cybersecurity. And based on this, we're starting to train the crew. Yeah, for example, for Carnival Maritime, we created a computer-based training based on their ISM, especially for them. That makes sense, because all others are too wide, and everyone has different ways how to use Nexus. And this is our ongoing continuous training program, OFS, Onboard Familiarization Service. And there are three sectors. It is on the first part is the familiarization course for Nexus. And that can be done anywhere on any computer. The second part is supporting tools, and I will talk about this a little bit later. And the third part is the monthly assessment. Even though this is not asked for, we implemented it here. We have got a database of 200 questions that will be updated every six months, so that everyone who wants to, or every shipping company that forces the crew to, can do an assessment every month, every week, every quarter to do not forget what ACT is doing. Yeah, I always compared with when I was in school, when my math teacher told me something, I said, I understood it. After 1 week, I looked into my notes and said, all fine. After 3 weeks, I forgot everything. Yeah, because you have to repeat again and again what you need to do, and especially if a crew is getting a training on actors and it's getting a vessel 4 weeks later, you need to have some kind of continuous training and refresher training. And then the critical part for the crew, if they coming, this is the supporting part now. For example, this is a little cheating tool. That's unfair but it helps. Yeah, the audit preparation. So whenever a vessel is going to Australian waters or US waters or expecting right ships or vetting, they should only go to this area. And in this audit preparation, the 20 most asked questions by ports and vetting of the last month or the last 6 months, and we're also updating them, and the crew should go through all these questions. And if they can answer all of them, then they are fine. They will be also confident for the vetting or for the inspection, and everything's fine. If not, they can go on this section and say, how do I get the information of chart 1 or whatever? Yeah, so it's helping them. It's continuous. It's always available on board. And that's what the crew needs until they are experts on actors use. But that takes 1, 2, 3 years. Yeah? So, and then last, automated digital data supply. ASUS is the best example. Yeah, in the past, sailors had to order charts, because it came from the paper chart world, and we said, or UKHO or whoever, also we said, in a paper chart world, you order charts each by each. Now you also have to order the ECs, everyone, if you need. Then some years ago, everyone, or the UKHO and Prima allowed pay-as-you-sail. That means you're installing all charts available on the world, besides India and Singapore and 2-3 other countries. And you pay only for the charts where the vessel really went through. That is perfect for ships in spot market where you're getting fast changing ports, like for example Maersk tanker. Most probably they would save some money and with pay-as-you-sail, and most probably they're also using it already. Yeah, and the other thing is the time of 4 megabytes per week for data transfer to the vessel are over. Yeah, we're getting now at least 20 per week that can use for data supply, and so sending CDs to the vessel is really not as adequate anymore. Yeah, so you have to update charts by all possible means. That is simply not the time anymore. You can send updates for charts via email. You can even send the complete data without any base media the moment, even though I like to have as redundancy a chart on board. But it's possible, and that makes it easier for the human if they only have to press a button, everything is updated automatically, because they again can do less mistakes. So, and that's it. Thank you very much. I hope it was not too boring without me on the stage.
Thank you, Stefan.
Thanks, Sayan. Thank you. And thanks, Stephen. It just gives us a glimpse of how things are rapidly and significantly changing on our wheelhouses. Moving on to the next speaker for the evening, and he's Mr. Ramesh Iyer from Mari Apps Marine Solutions, Kochi. And he'll be talking about shipboard technological applications. Mr. Ramesh Iyer, as he says, is on a mission to help ship owners and stakeholders build a digital platform based on IoT to change the way industry manages critical operations. Trained as a Class 2 marine engineer, he has unique 9-year background working as on merchant ships and 10 years of experience developing products in marine domain and supporting marine operations. He has actively contributed to build multi-million-dollar IT systems, strategic planning and business development. He has set up a professional services team which has implemented projects worth $4 million in the first 2 years. His current focus is to bring together stakeholders to support IoT solutions in the industry. Mr. Ramesh, please.
All right, so thank you very much for this forum, arranging this forum and letting me speak over here. As he said, basically, the IoT solutions are using data, digital data, for creating value to mariners. That's the focus I'm going to speak today on, basically. The most important part of it was already touched upon by our friends from Maersk and the chart world. That is basically getting the data, simulating bunkers, simulating data in terms of how the projected values are going to be and how it is going to make a decision support for a commercial, from a commercial perspective, from an operations perspective, sitting on shore and looking at the marine operations. The key aspect which was covered by the second speaker, basically when Stephen was speaking about it, he was talking about solutions within the EGDIS. So where we were talking about calculations, betterment of how EGDIS itself as an equipment do more optimal solutions, basically, to actually enhance value for the mariner. So these are two aspects. One, the large data, the big data part of it, which Maersk is working on, and they have access to so much data because they have so many vessels which they are working with. And the second aspect, equipments on board like EGDIS, like VDR, which is capturing a lot of data. So now the key question, the disconnect as I see it in the industry, is the mariners and the operations team on shore, basically. So that's where I think the products should evolve. That's an opinion. That's where the products should evolve, wherein there should be direct outputs which come from the system, that is with the data that is generated out of these VDRs, with this EGDIS, and the value additions that we have within the equipments, and the big data that we are talking about communicates with each other and creates value for the mariners who run the operations. Because at some time, if you are talking about automated ships, if you are talking about finally getting all the decision making on board, products should evolve to the ship, and overseeing should be the part which should be happening on shore, basically. So I would try to focus primarily on these aspects through my presentation today. I'll just give you a brief introduction of my company where I'm working with right now. It's Mari Apps Marine Solutions. We started as a software division for the Bernard Schulte group, and our office is based out of Singapore, and the development center is based in Cochin, basically. So I'll not go further on the introduction. So these are the softwares that we have built. We have basically, to sum it up, instead of reading through all these applications, to sum it up, you can see all these applications which are conventional applications which you have in the industry. So you are looking at plant maintenance system. We talked about automated data readings. But again, I would just stress a little bit on that part of it. When you say plant maintenance system, it is not like every vessel can relay all the data that we have. So the conventional system still exists, and the data can be read from the main engines on certain vessels. Similarly, for purchase, there is a level of automations that we talked about, that is with the tabs sent on board, your inventory is automated in terms of how the data is read into the system, barcoding and stuff like that. Seafarer portal, the interactive input that covers crewing. Let's say the seafarer is enabled with a mobile app and a crewing module, basically. So wherein the interaction between the fleet personnel officer and the seafarer is kind of very fast and very quick, instead of having to go through the normal conventional methods. Payroll automation, you have various types of payrolls which are automated. The key thing is you have various such modules which you can see in that listing, and all of them are on a single platform on a single database. So that's like our base platform, and it is based on user inputs. That's the key. As of today, we still rely on people inputting data into the system, and it is not like we validate it, we verify it, there is no doubt about it, but then the point is that it is still people inputting data into the system, and verification can only go to a certain extent, basically. So once we have gone through all these applications, as you can see, the first step was to actually give targeted information to each role, basically. So with all the data inputs coming from various ships, we created dashboards directed at each specific role on shore. That is giving, let's start from the purchaser to the superintendent to the fleet manager and all the way up to the ship owner. So various dashboards were created. So that's kind of a indication of various types of dashboards which we have available in the product. So this, as you can see, is the dashboard on the ship itself. It's kind of giving some figures for the chief engineer. So the underlying information that the chief engineer would want to have on a continuous basis is kind of available on the dashboards itself. Going further down, again, this talks about the emission targets, where is the actual emissions. Nobody is inputting any additional data. This is very conventional. This is getting aggregated based on the known reports and the data that comes through the performance reports which are put in by the vessel on a continuous basis. Over here, you can see the owners. So the owner is another stakeholder who is continuously looking at what is happening to his vessel and how efficiently it's performing, and what are the problems that it has right now, and where are the key challenges that are being faced. At a high level, it's providing all the details to the owner with drill down to the location of the vessel and whatever its latest consumption values are. Deeper analysis, as you can see, with the BI platform, we are giving deeper analysis of the data which is already available. Again, some parts of what you were talking about simulated bunkers and simulated voyages and all this kind of stuff, but to the extent of a ship owner and a ship manager, not in the commercial operations perspective, where your data is kind of huge compared to what we have in the software. So these kind of platforms are already created, and this has kind of become a single platform for having all this, has become a standard right now with a web-based interface, access from everywhere, has become a standard norm right now in the industry, basically. So now, I think the key improvements that are possible to this is kind of allowing these mobile apps and pads that you were talking about, and with the vessel connectivity, maybe even querying the vessel. If you can have the web services hosted on the vessel, you could even query the vessels, and a superintendent could be looking at data which they have already input on the vessel. So these are areas which currently is achievable. It's only that the internet connection needs to be faster, and then it is pretty much technology-wise, there is nothing challenging over here. Or in terms of projects as well, there is nothing challenging over here to take up. But that's where I would like to introduce the roadmap and what we are looking at going forward in the future in terms of solutions. So right now we are in 2018. We kind of created better business processes, efficient business processes, alerts and all these things. We have plugged it into our system. So kind of with our own data, historical data, we are able to generate all this intelligence. So we started all these applications, and right now we are at 2018 end, which is modern UI. That's where we are right now. So the next steps are the challenging ones, really challenging ones, and that's where I think this forum is actually providing the first steps basically for association. I think when we talk about IoT solutions, I'll just go a little bit detail on this stuff basically. So this is where the shift from user-based inputs to equipment-based inputs, and decision making based on equipment data is going to start. So this is where the projects are much more complicated than it was when it was user-based inputs. There it was about designing user screens, capturing some data, and then creating all the inputs, reference data, and then kind of optimizing it and saying that this is what you need to do based on inputs comparison. But when we go into the equipment-based inputs, let's take the example of ECDIS itself. So because we had a speaker on this one. So this is the key input points that we are talking about. Right now, we have worked with it's not working? Yeah, okay. Okay, so here we talked about the ECDIS platform. So we talked about 3 different types of data. One is the ECDIS computing itself. The second one, the digital chart data, the ENCs that we are talking about. And the third one is the permit key. So permit key which needs to go back and then get routed into the ECDIS to enable the ECDIS files and the licenses basically. So these 3 aspects right now, and we also talked about the box where the data was kind of going into the ECDIS. The files were going into the ECDIS in a secure manner, and we are talking about the cyber security in that context. But what if I want to get the root file from the ECDIS, the most updated root file from the ECDIS, back into my ERP? Because ECDIS is where I am planning birth to birth. Why do I want to plan the same thing on an Excel sheet or on my application and then monitor it? That's the question. That's the key question. So that's where there is a possibility to actually have a look at, and that's where the project, where it is focused on the vessel and it is intended to create value for people on the vessel. So the moment they have planned a voyage on ECDIS, so maybe we will need to have a programmable interface. So we had this proof of concept and we wanted partners to work with. So we started with Cons basically as one of our partners. And then that's where we are working with ECDIS manufacturers to actually work with us, wherein the planning can be done on ECDIS and we can just push it across and then get the data into the route plan, and then that comes into our application. And then all the big data that Maersk was talking about can come into play at that point basically, where the data, I'll get into those details in a while. So that's the first part. So that's ECDIS. Now, all the other parts that we are talking about, IMO web services, piracy alerts, all these are very simple. There are web services data which is available, which you can easily push directly into the system, and you can actually overlay it into the projected screen for the vessel to actually monitor it together. The other parts that we are talking about is the inventory. So let's say you change the voyage plan, and then the moment you are changing the voyage plan, you want to track the deliveries which are expected in a port, in the next port. So now, when the master changes his voyage, he is not thinking about all these guys. There is communication flying out to the purchaser, and then the purchaser is kind of calling up the warehouse guy, and then the warehouse guy is going to hold the deliveries and then maybe transport it to another location. So there is a lot of communication which is going around, and that is where the most important part is to have a single database where it is integrated with our partners. And that's where we have the logistics alert, inventory alerts, which we have actually developed right now in our application suite. Since it's in a single platform, it is integrated with various key logistics providers. That is, like, for example, we are completely integrated with DB Shankar for the deliveries. So DB Shankar systems, when they update that the delivery is planned on so-and-so date, it comes into the system and the purchaser can see it, and the master can also see it that the delivery is planned on that particular date. So now, think about it. If I can put the chart, and if I can take the route file, which also contains the ETA for a port, into this platform, and a trigger on change of this ETA is going to bring me all these alerts put together. That is on board basically. So it's not, it's live, it's on real time, and the entire application is on board. It is not like you're only pushing data to the vessel. The key critical data is what is being pushed to the vessel. The decision making is being enabled on board. So now I'll try to focus on the key challenges we are facing when we wanted to develop an application like this. The first part, ECDIS makers are not ready to get the data from the ECDIS other than through the USB stick. We gave them a device and a software, embedded software, which said that we completely and securely can take data from a particular port and only this particular data. It's a validated software. Maybe they can try and push the class or whoever is the verifiers to see if that is a feasible option, but they don't move. It's difficult to kind of move people and move the industry in that direction, basically. So if we have people who are working with that, then the first step is done. Basically, every time there is a voyage plan change, we are going to have that information into the platform 1, as we are calling it. So the moment we have that information into the platform 1, we are already having the logic to compute the logistic alert and all the other details. So now that's one challenge that I talked about, that where there is a possibility of partnering. The second part of it, we are looking at all these aspects which are related to this service letters updates. Now, every company is doing this. Every single company in the world is doing this, consolidating it, sending it across to the ships, and they are updating it. Why? I don't think there is any reason, because it's a common service. It can be done at one location, and it is common. It doesn't matter who owns the company or who is the charter of the ship, whatever it is. It's maintenance, and this is kind of data, and this data can be centralized as a standard service, and it is lying in every shipping company. Everyone builds their ship, the main engine database or the auxiliary engine database, and everyone keeps updating it. So these are areas which can be standardized and put into a single platform and can be relayed. So that's the second part of it. And the third part of it, what Maersk was doing with all the data that they have. Possibly they could relay us the information with regard to what is the best, given the possibility and the vessel type and the kind of commercial agreements we have under operation, what could be the next port, basically. So things like that need to come into a single platform wherein the decision can be kind of done on board itself, and that's the point at which we will be able to have this application completely covered. Okay. So I won't touch into too much details of this. I am just putting all these details with equipment sensors. We are already working with some partners in terms of the telemetry data integration. So we also have a performance module where we are doing all this, what we are talking about in terms of the hull deterioration, additional resistance, and the speed drop as a KPI monitoring and stuff like that. Now, so this is kind of a standard concept of an open platform, which pretty much is kind of got into the industry right now. So you have the equipments, the voyage data recorder, radar ECDIS is fine. These are kind of not very common, but still getting integrated, basically. You have the shipboard data server and the onboard applications. So what we are talking about as engine maintenance, performance monitoring, and stuff like that, which relays the same data into a data center to the shore side, and the shore side is kind of providing all the information, and they are doing all the algorithms and providing the weather routing and all those details, basically, to the user, which the user can be all of those guys, who are mentioned over there at the end. We can go into that slide in more detail as we clarify what we are looking at it. But let me get into a little bit of technical detail of so that we can understand the challenge. Now, so here you have the components of the ECDIS. We are talking about the gyro compass, the depth sounder, the navigational sensors, radar, AIS, and you have the updates. So this is the key. So here you have the updates that you were talking about going into the ECDIS. This is kind of a very standard image of how the ECDIS is talked about, because we are only talking about data going into the ECDIS. You have the standard interfaces and then the LAN and all that. We are talking about everything going into the ECDIS. Now we are talking about getting data out of the ECDIS. We are talking about getting the route files, planning done on ECDIS, having an additional software on the ECDIS itself, and then taking the data out, pushing the data out into the ship's network basically. So that's the part which needs to go in to change this, the whole thing basically. Now, same thing with the VDR. How do we do it? We go plug in, take a DVD or whatever it is, and then we download the entire VDR data. Why? Because you want cyber security, you don't want someone to corrupt the system. So that's the whole thing. But data is not available, whereas it is actually available on the vessel and it is in a readable format. It is not available for business purposes. So that needs to change as soon as possible for us to work. So this is just an example of kind of how the whole thing can work in case these two challenges are cleared out. So here we are talking about the create update birth plan in the ECDIS. So right now what we are doing is user is entering the voyage leg and the ETA in voyage module in addition to whatever you are doing in the ECDIS, and every time you update you are going and doing it here. So this is kind of parallel activity which is happening. So we have a platform called Beam. So this for ECDIS makers who are ready to work through Beam, which we did a POC, it can update the route file and ETA directly in the system. So that's where the first part of the integration comes in. So once the ETA is updated in the system, it is evaluated through a platform. This is an algorithm which contains the ship's models and it is integrated to the weather forecast. So when it is connected to the weather forecast, it is actually calculating the ETA which is provided in the ECDIS against the weather forecasted for the next 3 days through the voyage stream, and then it is actually giving you what will be the at the current speed what is going to be the ETA. So that's the output we are expecting from here. So once the ETA comes out, it comes into the platform. It is actually calculating, all these inputs are going in. The tank ROB is coming into the platform, the tank ROB data. As of now, it is still in the POC stage where we are putting it manually. But if we have the sensor readings, the total tank readings, the tank values are inside, then it is actually projecting for the entire voyage that you have planned. The system output is going to give you kind of what will be the tank ROB at each port, which can directly help you with the bunker planning basically into the system. Same way we have the loop cast, we have the engine cast, which is actually taking the performance data from the engine, again automatic readings from the engine, and then it is projecting as of now basically how long it will take for the piston rings. So basically these are softwares which are available but not completely automated, as I said, based on the challenges. So that was my last slide. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the idea what I'm trying to get at is basically to move the decision making into a platform which is on board rather than and use this data. So we are developing products in that direction as of now, and we are looking at how these kind of forums can be used to kind of persuade people to actually open up and help us out with all of this. Yeah, thank you very much.
Moving on, our next speaker is Mr. S. Murali, Business Head, Vodafone Idea, Chennai, and he's going to talk about demystifying data analytics. Mr. Murali is the Business Head of Vodafone Idea Limited, Tamil Nadu. He has over 3 decades of experience across FMCG, consumer, durable, and telecom. He was engaged with integrating BPL operations with Hutch, Tamil Nadu, establishing Vodafone brand in Tamil Nadu, launching Vodafone 4G in TN, expanding business beyond mobility. Mr. Murali values skill development and takes keen interest in mentoring future leaders. He has a BCom from University of Madras and MBA from Annamalai University. He's an avid reader, sports enthusiast, and loves music. May I request Mr. Murali, please be here.
A few, and we're getting closer to the dinner and cocktails in the evening, and I don't want to stand in between both, but it's an experience which is going to be very different for me because I'm going to be addressing captains, mariners. We are from the consumer business, and the way we look at our business is completely different. Therefore, it's going to be some sort of an experience. Therefore, I would love the conversation to be interactive. Therefore, if you could take the best out of the interaction for the next 20 minutes. I was talking to Captain Krish, and he was saying that why don't you talk about data, and why don't you talk about how do you demystify and so on and so forth. But my take is, what do I tell all you people who talk about satellites, middle of the middle of the sea, high sea as you call it, and you are the cutting edge of technology. So what is it that I'm going to come and explain to you about what's technology all about? I think that should be kidding, isn't it? So I just take a couple of minutes before I start to ask you as to what do you expect in the next 20 minutes. And the first promise I make is I don't have a presentation. Looks like Captain Krish called me to be fixed over here.
My question to him is, from from a house, my son called me and it was costing 700 rupees a minute. From the ship, when we call, it is hardly 30 rupees a minute. So maybe he can tell us like what is the anomaly in this. 700 rupees for 5 minutes, we have paid 3,500 rupees Vodafone. And from the ship, as we all know, with $1, we can easily talk.
I would connect with you to find out as to how I can make it less than 1 paisa, because we give free today. And to answer your question, all the money is going towards the satellite call and the money is nothing to me. It's only pass through. So we should go and ask the government to give it at the same rate. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Surendran is here. Captain Krish is saying Surendran has a better idea about this.
So you can use the mobiling services. So for this services, you can use the mobiling services, it is called. So I am from actually from Station Setcom. We are Inmarsat distribution partners. So also we are dealing with VSAT and fleet broadbands, other communication equipments. So for this Airtel and this, if you are calling from Vodafone or Airtel, it is costing 500 rupees per minute, of course. But if you, through the same Airtel or Vodafone, if you are using a mobiling services, it will be just 34 rupees. So that with that services we are providing. But we will be giving you account number and that will be charged through the Vodafone, and but the charges will be like this. So that services you can use.
Adding on to what he had said.
Yeah.
He said from the ship it costs 30 rupees and from ashore it costs 700. Is it because from the ship we are using VoIP and from shore you are using whatever, the normal communication, telephone, cables or whatever?
Yes. So VoIP is actually a database call communication. So that will be consumed only the data, not the calls. So whatever the calls used, so that will be charged as a voice calls. So from the ship to shore, it will be at actuals only, $2, $3 as the tariff based. But when shore to ship, it will be around 34 rupees to the fleet broadband or Inmarsat B. So it is all tariff based.
I think Captain Krish has literally fixed me today.
So I'm using an Airtel. Excuse me. No.
Majority marina would like to have the call other way around. When we call, it should be cheap. When it comes from home, it should be very expensive.
Good point. Okay. I will steer the discussion, I think, in the direction of autonomous shipping and you know the digital shipping that we are basically discussing. One of the challenges that we do see when it comes to application of satellites and telecom services, basically in the sea, is the coverage area, right? So as from let's say from Vodafone's perspective, and let's say from the coverage perspective in the high seas, what are the steps that are being taken currently, and what is the future that you see putting in things like, you know, satellite phone is one way, but how to commercialize it even more, which can be levied by service providers like ourselves and Ramesh over here, which can be used. I mean, that is providing uninterrupted data services in the middle of the sea, which is being done now. I would say it is there. We have unlimited VSAT services available, but they come at a premium cost. So,
yeah, thanks for the question. I think the first thing which you have to understand is that we provide coverage in the license area. So when you're in the high seas, it's not my license area. I provide you connectivity for you to speak. That's the first answer to that question. The second thing which you have to remember is that as far as all calls which are made outside the home network, it's all collect and hand over to somebody. It's like you having it. In simple terms, if you're a member of Mariners Club in Chennai and you go to Bombay, you enjoy all the services there, and ultimately the billing which we do is to give the money back to the Bombay club. The similar story happens in our case. So Inmarsat, whoever, we're just handing over the money to them because they provide the services. So the answer is, we are doing a service. Our job is to ensure that we tie up with as many number of people so that you can use the service. Right. In terms of costs, there are two things. One is regulation. Number two, competition itself. If competition is any direction at this point of time, in India, for a consumer, if 1 GB of data was 300 rupees, today it's $5.
Yeah.
And it's just about going to become free. So if that's the way it's going, I think the next port of call will literally be where you are. So I think that's the way it's going. So it's more a question of competition to sum up, and cost of production, and regulation to a larger degree. And we have no direct control. If you hold me responsible, it should be to ask me, why have you not provided, why have you not tied up with them, why have you not tied up with the X person or whatever. Yeah. That's the best I can do with the license area, because the money I pay to the government to get the license is only for the geography in which I am present. And that's true across the globe.
Right, right.
I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah?
Thanks.
Thanks. So good. So to such a well-informed audience, what do I talk technology, right? Data platform, I'll speak about that. It's not about the data platform. Yeah, we could speak. So we go back to two types of connectivity. One is solutioning, which we talk about in terms of what I can do for you. The other one is connectivity, which is external, which I spoke just now. So it's operator agnostic. It's more a question of your license, and it's a question of what connectivity, what tie-up have you done. So that's where it stands.
Mr. Murali, excuse me. We have the interactive session a little later, and Samiti, we have about half an hour, 45 minutes for that. So we'll take the questions then. I think that will be, you can finish your presentation.
Yeah, I will finish my presentation quickly. So it looks like my presentation didn't even start. Right. So I would take 10, 12 minutes to explain. So I will keep the conversation quite light in terms of what actually has happened in the equivalent of a digital shift from a telecom business standpoint. And also draw some experience from what's happened in the consumer business as we see it. Fundamentally, this entire digital story, which is unraveled in the last 36 to 48 months, 36 months to be precise, in the telecom business in terms of impact, has been the cost of production. So the biggest story has been cost of production, lowest cost to producer. So ultimately, the entire digital story is gravitating the price downwards. Are you the lowest cost producer? Therefore, can you build scale? And therefore, can you dominate the business? So this is the game which is panning out fundamentally because of three things. One, processing powers have gone up to the power of n, as all of us know, and all of that has become a simple chip at the smallest possible kind. That's one big change which has happened. The second is freeware in terms of applications which are coming in the phone, and therefore that's completely crushed the entire world, not onto the laptop, not onto the palm, but much smaller than that. It looks like finger and beyond. So that's the sort of information which is available. And the third one, which I just now spoke about, is the cost of connectivity, which is data. And that's coming next to zero. So these are three key elements which are changing the landscape as we see it. One, processing speed. Second, freeware. And third, the cost of data and connectivity. And all leading to lower costs of production, as we see in the marketplace. And that's what we're experiencing as an operator. Now, with this as the background, the entire landscape is changing because the physicality of the business, partners, reaching out to the customer is all getting crunched because the entire story is becoming disruptive at the digital level, because accessibility is becoming easy, everything is becoming real time, and therefore the customer is far more happier the way he is getting access and the price at which the products are available. Simple example is about what does with Amazon. All of us are customers, Flipkart, you take Big Basket, whoever. So the entire thing, the disintermediation is happening to the highest level with the lowest cost, and therefore this entire change has happened. Now, if this is the change which has happened, the same thing has happened to telecom. I view this entire thing from three prisms. One, looking at it from a consumer standpoint. Second, what's happening to the organization. And third, what is it which is impacting the employee as we see today? Because these are the three elements which get impacted. First, from a consumer standpoint, the game is substantially changed. Of course, he's always looking for low prices, but the expectation in terms of transparency and the way in which he tracks the entire transaction and the relationship with the company has substantially changed, because the e-commerce companies have taught them how to track where the product is, where is it, what are you saying, is it good, is it bad, what's the price, you can't have an asterisk with some conditions. Everything is becoming so open. Therefore, the customer's expectation is, tell me what's happening to what I've got into with you in terms of transaction or a contract. So it's no more saying that it's here, it's there, likely, we will tell you, likely, conditions apply, let me talk to my manager. All that is thrown out of the window. It's reached a point where reimbursements or money which is paid back to you comes back without asking a question. People like Ola have taught us how money can be got back. You're not happy with the driver, you're not happy with the trip, money comes back to your bank account, even without talking to the call center. There's no need for a call center, money comes back. Now, that's the sort of crunching which is happening in terms of customer expectation. The customer says, this is the way it is. Take it or leave it. Please give me my money. I'm not happy. It's replaced. You can't say there is a service warranty. Did you read it? That second clause, we'll go back. Let me talk to my manager. Come back after 1 week. Sorry. Interested, play the game. Otherwise, buy. That's the way the consumer is moving. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. So that's the big change which we see, which is happening to the customer. The second thing which is happening as far as the company is concerned is that everything is moving from a transaction to a journey. To a customer, it's no more a transaction. It's not about what you asked and what I give, but it's about understanding where you come from and what's your entire experience with the company. Therefore, we talk about omni-channel experience at every touch point, every moment of truth. Can it be consistent? Can the information be available about every transaction at every place, which was not the case in the past, is a reality today. That's the way it has to be. And that's the minimum expectation of the customer. And this is becoming the norm for people to operate. And if that's not met, the customer says sorry. And the measures are becoming tougher and tougher because NPS, Net Promoter Scores, as we look at it, in terms of every transaction getting rated by the customer, and therefore you know by transaction whether you're there or not there. It's not about a cumulative impact factor which happens, but it's by transaction every interaction is getting measured. Coupled with this, the customer is also looking for hyper-personalization. Every customer says, I'm unique. Suppose I have 2.5 crore subscribers in Tamil Nadu. All the 2.5 crore customers are saying, I'm unique, this is what I use, this is what I want, can you give me an offer? It's no more a price list which is available, and therefore you say that please go pick up the one and tell me, I will give you. He says, sorry, I don't care. I use 20 minutes as against his 10 minutes, tell me what's my offer. Now that's how the customers are gravitating towards. And therefore you have to use big data and of course analytics to understand as to where is this all going. To understand 2.5 crore subscribers, each individual, basis his usage, basis his journey, basis the time of interaction, basis whether he's taken a particular pack of data, voice or whatever. That's the granularity to which it's moving to. So should we be bothered too much about what's big data and therefore what we need to do? I personally think that overall understanding of that is fine, but largely, how does the customer interact and expect you to behave is becoming very important. And therefore, it's becoming important for the employee to be aware of the journey of the customer and therefore give a responsible answer to the customer so that the customer feels warm, wanted, and therefore feels like coming back. That's the game which is happening. It's no more a question of what level are you, it's the question of who is the guy who's interacting with the customer. So org structures have moved substantially from hierarchy to matrix to agile, and we are moving by projects now. And it's about a set of people who are working together for a particular project, disband, move on, go to the next project, and the life goes on. It's no more who's the boss, who's sitting outside, can I get his appointment, is his door open? The game is over. So the entire way of looking at the customer has changed the way in which the organizations have to look at yourselves. The other big thing, this is as far as B2C is concerned. I know substantially all of you come from a B2B type of situation. So it's important for me to give you some examples of what's happening in B2B. One thing is, most B2B customers say, I am a big customer, therefore can you give me the best price? That's always been there for ages. It'll continue. You'll say, I'm giving you volume, I'm large, so do this and do that. But that's all done. And the prices have moved southwards thanks to digitization and, of course, all the technology which is available. But the larger part of winning with these customers have been, how do you own the value chain? How can you be consultative for this customer? How can you add more solutioning to the way he operates? And therefore become part of his business in terms of how you do transactions with him. Rather than saying that you wanted data at 1 rupee, market is available at 50 paisa, 2 rupees, I'm giving you at 1 rupee, please take it. The level of involvement of organizations in a B2B scenario in the digital world has changed substantially. I'll give you a couple of examples of what happened with Vodafone. During the Twin Tower blast, one of our customers was sitting in the tower, and he was a 24/7 network which had to be connected, call center. We had to immediately work out a situation where we had to shift the MSC connectivity to Trinidad and Tobago through cable and wireless and provide him service in the next 10 minutes. Now that's become a minimum expectation of the customer. He says, you knew that when I came to you that I'm a 24/7 guy, you have an agreement with me, you know uptime, I do understand there's some unforeseen thing happened, what have you worked with me for? Example 1. Example 2. We work with Ford in Chennai. We had a floods, and they have their project office here, which is coordinating with the office in America. They don't care about whether there's floods in Chennai. They can say, oh, sorry, feel bad for you, there's floods. Period. Now they say, let's move on. Tell me what you're going to do. So that's the point is, we reached the point where we had to work with their corporate office, understand how they handle this entire business, and therefore can we create a plan B in the event something like this happens. We had to make a presentation to their board so that they are comfortable that this is the way they're going to operate tomorrow. If the network is down, they go to Ahmedabad, they will connect with UK, that's where it will go, and therefore my business is safe. Now that's the minimum expectations the customer has got from me now. That's what digitization has done. Am I making sense to you? Yeah? Is it ringing a bell? Right? So that's the move which has happened. Now just go back circa 5 years, what would you have said? You know there was floods, okay, I'll give you a 10% discount, you can pay me, you have been an old customer, we'll take care of you. That's what you would have said, correct? Now you'll say, thank you, let me look at the other guy. Right? The guy says, I am making this investment in Chennai, I need 12 more towers to build up the new building. Their new project which they were building up from scratch as a project for their new truck project, we were part of their entire the construction activity to ensure that connectivity was taken care of by floor, and it looked as if we were all Ford employees, right? Now he didn't ask for it. Now if I wanted Ford, it's up to me, right? So that's the minimum expectation of the customer. Do you understand what's his plan? Do you understand where it works? And therefore can you become consultative and how you look at it? Now to be fair to the clients, we work with other automobile companies in Chennai. What happens is that they are also looking at customers the same way. For example, if you look at logistics as an area which is somewhat similar, but your complexities and the toughness you face is far greater than somebody on land. So let me not take away anything from what you guys are doing. For example, now we have looked at, they are saying that can I add value beyond the truck? Okay. Can I have a meter which can tell that the driver is drowsy now and therefore the vehicle has to stop, for example? Right? So that's the area which we're getting into. If the vehicle is supposed to move at a particular kilometer of speed in a particular hour, if it slows down and it stops, can I have information back with me? Right? And of course the other ones of track and trace and fuel and other things, all that comes added on. But this is the way companies which are selling automobile, I am saying about how these companies are demanding on me,
But let me tell you as to what are they doing to their customers also, to be fair to them. And this is the expectation which they have from, the customers have from them. And therefore, we have to ensure that we move through the value chain to go beyond the price and ensure that we do more consultative selling rather than give a sales pitch, and therefore change the paradigm of how the business is being done. That's the big change which is happening. From an employee perspective, so I spoke about what's happening to the company, I spoke about what's happening to the consumer, but let me tell you as to what's happening to the employee. The question which comes to your mind is your job relevant? It's no more about incrementalizing your efficiencies, it's about being disruptive to say whether you have to do something or you don't want to do something. So the question we ask is, why do you do this? It's no more saying that, can you do it faster? Can we reduce the time frame? What's the turnaround time? That's gone. The question is, do you need it? For example, we used to do something known as verification of customers before giving them a connection in the postpaid business. Now they're saying if CIBIL is available and you know the credit worthiness of the guy, why are you verifying the guy here? Why are you verifying? There's a CIBIL list, go check. If his score is 720, you know what is it. If it's 500, you know what it is. So why is it that you're paining him and saying, I have to verify you, tell me your address, tell me who all lives in the house, how many TVs and all that. What nonsense are you talking? That's the way verification used to happen. Whether it was a two-wheeler, car, house, mobile connection, home loans, any loans, anything. That's gone. Now they're saying, look at CIBIL and walk off. So that's the sort of change which is happening. And therefore, if the employee, irrespective of levels, is not able to see the journey of the customer and identify how can I make it smoother for him, rather than saying that this is my job and therefore there's a transaction, I think those are companies which will do well. And clearly there is a need for most organizations to reskill people. I think the responsibility is both sides. As employees, we need to upskill ourselves in the change scenario, which is beyond the company, beyond the industry. And there's a responsibility of the organization to support you in the journey, but that's a reality. And all of us know, in the next 5 years, if there's going to be 5 times the job which is going to come, 90% of what's available as job today is not going to be available. And that's a stark reality for all of us, irrespective of industry. Perhaps the intensity of impact could be different from different industries over a period of time, but fundamentally there's no escape from this. So broadly, that's what I wanted to share with you. This is the journey through which we are going through in telecom. I hope whatever little I shared with you could ring a bell in terms of what you're doing in your business. And if it is of help to you, I would be the most happiest. And thanks for this opportunity, Captain Krish.
Thank you, Mr. Murli. And moving on to our next speaker, the final speaker for the evening, Mr. Mayuran, Director, KPMG, Risk Consultancy. He'll be talking to us about cybersecurity, a global threat. Mr. Mayuran is with KPMG as Director, Risk Consultancy IT Advisory Practice with over 14 years experience in this line of work. He has extensive experience in cybersecurity, data privacy, IT attestation, IT risk management, and regulatory compliance services. Mayuran also leads data privacy solutions for KPMG in India, and he represents the India firm in the KPMG Global Data Privacy team. He works with marquee clients spread across ITs, banking and financial services, logistics, aviation, hospitality, and media sectors. His certifications, to name a few, include ISO 27001, Cyber Law, CISA, and CISSP. May I request Mr. Mayuran to share his presentation, please.
Good evening. Really sorry for the delay. Some technical glitch. Somehow we sorted out. First of all, thank you to Captain Krish for calling us for this particular presentation, and thanks for the opportunity, Captain. So the topic, as I was introduced, we are going to talk about cybersecurity, right? So I know that I need to make a couple of confessions before I start the session. Number one, I'm kind of an odd man out here because I don't belong to your industry, honestly, and I'm learning about the industry now. And second thing is I'm not wearing a tie. Most of you are wearing, right? Okay, so we are in the same boat. Okay, so, and I'll be talking really fast to kind of get away with few points because I don't know much about this industry, right? And perspectives are mine, not KPMG's. I'm presenting at the individual capacity. And most of them, obviously, you will have points to debate about it. You can do that. right? And finally, you don't have to agree on everything. And if at all you may decide not to agree on anything, that is also fine, right? Okay, so this is a session where mostly you would have seen sessions where you're requested not to use the mobile. And I'm sure that you'll be very strict on those aspects, Captain, right? But to kind of, as a contrast, I would ask you to use the mobile. Okay, but I'll tell you what is the purpose of it, not to make calls or text, right? So go to this link, menti.com, in your browser, and give that code, right? You'll see the same question appearing in your screen, and you can respond to this question in that. So you'll see the responses here, but this is anonymous. It will not say who responded or whatever it is. So the question is that, according to you, right, what is the biggest cyber risk in the industry, especially maritime industry? Yeah, so it will ask for the code. Enter this 6-digit code, 445598. Yes, we are receiving the responses. Data theft, piracy, okay. So we're going to take just 1 minute to respond for this, because since we have a very stringent timeline to meet, right, I don't want to give a lot of time for you to respond. So as much as possible, we try to cover within 1 minute. So I think if we reach 25, we'll take that as a count and move on. Okay, fine. I think I'll take that as the response of the overall group here. So honestly, I didn't understand some of this terminology mentioned here. But what is curious is that, at least I'm curious about, is that a lot of you appreciate data theft as a cybersecurity issue, right? So that is the content I want to cover here. You're the one? Brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, so this is, if you look at most of the organization, not specific to organizations from your industry, but we have done studies across various organizations of various industries. So close to 79% of the respondents actually feel that cybersecurity is one of the top 5 risks for them, right? So it's really hard to say that which industry which is kind of not prone to a cybersecurity attack at this point in time. Right? It could be anybody. So actually cyber can make or break a business at this point in time, right? But we have seen a lot of examples and cases where cyber actually has broken the business. So what is it we need to understand here is that, so there are a lot of terminology which are familiar. So information security is something you might have heard in the past, right? If you see 10 years back, it was always about information security. So now we are talking about cyber security, right? So let's try to understand how these two are different, or how information security actually evolved to become cyber security, right? So can I assume that all of you have heard about information security, right? I'm sure that since you responded a lot about data theft and all, right? So you all know about it, right? So this can be classified based on few parameters, right? So the parameters what you see in the middle: scope, the stakeholders involved or impacted, right? Then the kind of attack. Then we have the implementation approach. This is more from the organization perspective, right? Then how the incidents are handled, and finally the impact, right? So these are the parameters which actually differentiates between information security and the cyber security. So the first, from the information security perspective, generally the scope is limited to an enterprise, right? An organization, right? But if you look at cyber security, it actually interconnects across connected global systems. So when I say connected global systems, it can actually impact your vendor, it can impact your service provider, right? It can impact your customers, so on and so forth. So it is not about just confining the security threat only to your organization. Second, stakeholders involved are primarily, from information security perspective, is the InfoSec team, right? But if you look at the cyber security side, more than the stakeholders, the people who are getting impacted are at the CEO. Even the board is actually really worried about cybersecurity these days, because there is a lot of questions coming from the investors on the saying that what is it your organization doing from a cybersecurity perspective, right? So attack nature is, this is one of motivated or disgruntled employee who is motivated to kind of bring down the system, right? But on the other hand, if you look at cyber security, most of the attacks are well planned, well organized kind of execution. And this is protect the perimeter and respond if attacked. This is the kind of implementation approach it used to be for information security. Just protect your environment and your perimeter. But now it has to be a little more planned, right? And it has to be monitored throughout whether they're being subject to attack, and also quickly respond in case of an attack. And finally, incident handling, most of the time it is kind of, you face a information security attack, you kind of keep it to yourself, resolve and keep it to yourself. Now what has happened is that this is getting kind of shared with the industry, and there's a lot of collaboration happening to make sure that others don't go through these kind of attacks, right? And impact is quite limited in case of information security, but it's quite broad when it comes to cybersecurity. So this is the difference between information security and cybersecurity. So everybody is talking about cybersecurity these days. Okay, this is one of the studies which we did a few months back, and the outcome is this. So 58% of the board actually talking about cybersecurity now, compared to 41% in the year 2015. In the 3 years, so there's a significant focus on cyber risk, because all of them are really scared about the ransomware attack, etc., which took in the last year, right? And audit committee attention, 79% of the audit committee are focusing on cybersecurity risks, right? And there are 11% which is still clueless, but I think this number is quite significant. And when it comes to budget for cybersecurity, close to 51% of respondents are believing that they have increased the budget for cybersecurity. So the reason behind this particular slide is that it is getting the attention or the prominence within the board and the senior leadership within the organization. So we are talking about, the topic is about digital shift, right? So when an organization goes through a digital journey, right? So this is how actually the cyber or the digital maturity and the security maturity goes through, right? So these are some of the digital, or I would say that emerging technologies which we are actually adopting these days, right? So if you see, there's been always a gap between the maturity levels. So we are focusing more on the digital part, but we are not adequately focusing on the cyber risks, which has to go in hand in hand with the maturity of the digital journey as well. But some point in time, this will have to meet. I think this is the situation. I would say that there's a lot of opportunity for doing a lot of cybersecurity related work here for organization to ensure that these two ends are met. So what are the major attacks, right? So this is something you'd have seen across, right? So I would say that these are the 5 top prominent attacks an organization or an individual organization can go through. So one is email-based attack, right? A virus can be sent through an email. You open the attachment, it gets infected, spread through the network, right? And you can actually leave a backdoor open for somebody to come in and take the data from you, so on and so forth. And you might have heard about phishing attack or social engineering attack, right? So this is also getting very prominent now. So you may randomly get a mail saying that you have won a lottery, and they may expect you to share some information, and people go to the extent of sharing or transferring money to them, right, to kind of get the larger sum. And malware, ransomware, I think we all know, right, which was happening thing in the last 6 months' time. A lot of the organization got impacted because of ransomware attacks. And web-based applications, this is again any weaknesses in the applications which can be exploited by a hacker. You can get into the system and perform transactions and extract money from there. And also any vulnerabilities attached to your infrastructure, right? That can be actually used as a weakness and got into the system. And what are the impacts, right? Significant impact on the reputation on the business, right? This will directly impact the trust factor an organization has or the consumers have on the organization, right? And also it could be financial loss. Somebody might actually misuse the funds in this situation. And what are the motives behind? So motives have significantly changed in the last few years, right? So if you see that if I had done the similar thing 15 years back, I would say the motive of just for fun was much higher. I mean, there's no clear intention, but to just prove a point, a lot of people used to do this actually. They actually penetrate, and I mean, there are bounty things also, right? If you actually find a vulnerability in a particular website, and if you go back and report to the particular organization, you used to get a little bit of bounty, like £500 or dollars or whatever it is. So now it has changed. It is primarily done for financial gain, right? Where you kind of extract data, either you sell the data in the market, or actually by getting access to the systems, you actually can perform a lot of transactions to have some gains. So this is the new vector which I spoke, right? How the things have evolved in the last, I would say, 5 years, right? So this is the hackers of yesterday's are mostly individuals who are cyber criminals and script kiddies. This is just somebody who's just out of college will say that, okay, let me try out this, right? And what are the targets to kind of do identity theft or self-promotion opportunities? That's basically proving themselves, saying that I was able to hack into your system, right? And theft of services. So this is more of target of opportunity at that point in time. Just to get a particular service, you try to hack into a system. So today it is more organized, right? And there are state-run or some of the countries actually run these exercises, right? To kind of bring down some other country, right? And hacktivists, there are a lot of groups who are working as in tandem as one single organization. So recently there was an organization busted by the Philippines police. So there were 500 people who are been working as an organization just to do these things, right? And the targets are intellectual properties of organizations, right? Financial information and strategic access to data, right? Now it is more of target of choice rather than target of opportunity. So how this has evolved? Okay, this slide talks about how the cybersecurity attacks evolved and what is the impact, right? So if you see in the year 2017, which is not too behind, like 2 years back, right? The ransomware damages were close to $5 billion. So now we are talking about 11.5 billion. So this is a kind of impact. And similarly, time to attack a business has got reduced from 40 seconds to 14 seconds, right? So the technology, I mean, it's good, it's growing, but it's also kind of paving path for this kind of attacks as well. Okay, so this is an important slide. Why I'm trying to put this slide here is that, so as I mentioned earlier, information security is more of a problem of the information security function within the organization, right? So cybersecurity issues are actually becoming the fastest CEO job killers, honestly. So you can see the timeline. So I'm sure that all of us know about the Sony entertainment hack which happened like a few years back, right? And yeah, TalkTalk is again a prominent case. Target, everybody knows, and Equifax is the most recent one, like 1.5 years back, right? So look at the timeline, right? It has taken to bring down the CEO, right? So the first one, it took 24 months, then 18 months. So the last one, Equifax, is just 19 days. He had to step down from the CEO position, right? So this is quite critical to understand, saying that, okay, this is not a problem of information security. It's a problem of the entire organization, which can impact the board and the CEO. Going back to the question, no? Okay, thanks for the honest answer. So I know the question is not appearing completely, I can read it out. Is your organization ready to deal with cyber risks? So I think I'll stop here with this, because 50% of you are feeling that you're absolutely ready to face a cyber risk, which is good. Can be called as optimism as well, right? Okay, so these are some of the cases which you have seen in your own industry, right, where the cybersecurity attacks have been carried out, right? So few things like the pirates have actually hacked into the computer system, right? And they have actually done a lot of amendments to change the data within the vessel, about the vessel, right? And similarly, a group of drug smugglers, actually they've gone back to the system and removed all the traces about particular whatever the journey they had, so all these things have happened. So what is important is that if somebody believes that this may not happen to your industry, to your business, I will not answer that. Probably this slide will answer that. So do you want to go back and revisit the previous question now? Okay, so I'll believe that whatever the answer you've given is well thought. So with due respect to that, let's move on. Okay, so we all know that close to 90% of the trade is happening through the vessels, right, through ships. So if you see, the cybersecurity awareness is kind of either it is very low or non-existent in this industry, unfortunately. And that is what IMO has come up with a circular, right, MSc 98, which emphasizes saying that most of the organizations will have to go through cybersecurity assessment to make sure that get a comfort that they are kind of ready to face any kind of cybersecurity issues by 1st January 2021. This is not too far off, like 2 years from now. Okay, so I can relate this slide to the responses I received earlier, right? So this is a typical cyber journey. Okay, so first response is a denial. Okay, so you believe that it will not happen to me, or I'm not at risk. Okay, then you start worrying about it because we know that you might have seen some cases happening to your competition or peers. Then you start little worrying about it. Then you'll go back to your information security practices and take that as a fallback and say that, okay, you kind of develop a false confidence that I'm kind of prepared because I have my information security policies done, training is done, right? My infrastructure is secured, so on and so forth. So then comes the hard lessons, which is reality, right? Things like getting hacked, ransomware, all these things. So I think that is when you go to the next stage, which is true leadership, right? You'll kind of acknowledge that you are not completely foolproof, right? So it is always said, I mean, cybersecurity attacks are not about that, whether yes or no, it's all about when. Either today or tomorrow or 1 year down the line, right? Nobody can claim saying that, okay, I'm 100% comfortable or confident on the cybersecurity, that I'm not kind of prone to any kind of attacks. Okay, so what is happening in your industry when it comes to emerging technology, right? So, I mean, I would say similar to any other industry, I think your industry also going through significant change. The way technology is kind of enhancing the industry. Things like machine learning playing a significant role in kind of doing a predictive maintenance, right? Identifying which part, when it was failed and what is the duration of failure, so on and so forth, right? And solutions like Cortana Intelligence Suite, right? Actually, it is being used for ensuring the water resources, right, in a vessel is kind of maintained based on, or the only adequate water is taken in a vessel just to make sure that based on the various factors like people who are traveling, their age, right, and all the nationality, so on and so forth. So that will help them decide what is the kind of water consumption will be. Accordingly, they can take that much of water in a ship, right? And blockchain is again a game changer, right, when it comes to bill of lading through smart contracts, so on and so forth, right? So this is being significantly used. I think one of the use case which I saw very recently is, so I'm sure that when it comes to kind of bill of lading, it's a process which takes time, right? At least a couple of weeks to kind of complete the process. But in few cases, they were able to finish within 2 days time or 2 hours time, right? Which is a significant impact in this kind of industry, right? And similarly, AI, right? When it comes to kind of discovering efficient routes, right? AI is being used based on the past data, right? It can actually direct you what is the efficient route, which will help you to kind of reach the destination much faster. And Internet of Things, right, which data is being used for various data analytic purposes, which is used to kind of derive some insights based on the past data. And when it comes to robotics and drones, right, there are firefighting drones now, actually, which can identify fire within a vessel and which can actually notify back saying that which part is impacted. And there is anti-piracy robos as well, which can notify if there's a potential piracy attack. And augmented reality is again, which is getting prominent in this space because through augmented reality experience, without even going to the vessel or the ship, you can actually have the 360-degree view of the ship, right? So that really helps in terms of maintenance, so on and so forth. So this is good. I mean, all of us like this kind of technology, which is really helping and enhancing. So unfortunately, these technology brings along a lot of risk as well, right? So what are these risks? So what are the cyber exposure and impact due to emerging technologies, right? So we saw about the emerging technology on top. So this is leading to risks like ransom attacks because your data is available, right? Somebody can hack the data, right, and claim for a ransomware. And lack of standard regulations. So this is again a challenge. Data manipulation is possible. Somebody can hack and change the data, which can actually impact the decisions made based on the data, right? And insufficient security configurability is there, and unauthorized digital access. So the moment you get into digital business, right, you're open for anybody to access. If somebody is smart enough, they can access, hack and access the data, right? So what are the mitigating measures? Awareness and training, which is very important. Then we have a creation of industry standards. I think these are available already. It is important you all understand and adapt to that, right? And there are security protocols available for specific industries which can be leveraged on. And access management plays a very critical role, right? What is the kind of systems you have in place? How you control the access to the system? Who can access? Do you have a review mechanism? So on and so forth. So what is the future? I'll keep it very short. I think I'm already out of time. So blockchain, as we all know that through smart contracts, we can do a lot of things like marine insurance, right? It can make it more transparent between the insurer and the shipping organization. And also augmented reality, we see HoloLens as a tool which can give a 360-degree view of a ship without even being on board. And robotics being used for, and drones are being used for emission sniffing, right, to identify what is the level of emission and need to be any corrective action taken. And also internet things are getting picked up in this space. There's more investment being done for Internet of Things. Quick question again. Sorry, I'm rushing a bit because of the time constraint. So does your organization's insurance cover cyber attacks? So I will take no idea as a no. So thanks for that honest feedback. So I think this is not something where I expect an answer too many yes, because this is an area which is evolving. But this is the common pitfall which we have understood from when it comes to insurance, right? So the cyber insurance most of the marine companies take do not cover any issues or loss or damage related to the because of the use of a computer and associate systems. Right, so this is a huge risk most of you are running now, because your insurance doesn't talk about any cyber-related risks. Okay, so this is a quick thought from my side. So anybody heard about the word hedonic treadmill or hedonic adaptation? Okay, so this is a psychological concept. Okay, so normally humans, right? So when they achieve something, or when they go through a bad time in life, right? So they will quickly come back to the normal state, right? It is like a treadmill, it's like a wave, right? So cyber security is also like that. So when there is an attack, right, all of us hurry about saying, okay, what's happened? Let me see what that I'm doing. And when nothing happens, we keep quiet, right? So this is a similarity between that. So my point there is that, so make sure that you give enough attention to cyber security. Right? Don't focus just because somebody else got attacked. Right? It doesn't mean that you'll get attacked, and if you don't focus, doesn't mean that you'll not get attacked also. Right? And with that, let me wrap up my session. Thank you once again for the opportunity, Captain. And really, my apologies. I came in a little late, and I had to rush through the presentation. I hope you all liked it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mayuran. I think there are a lot of questions. The speakers would be more than happy to take those questions. I request all the speakers to please occupy the seats here on the head table, please. We have the interactive sessions.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patient hearing. I know it's been an interesting day. One takeaway for me is, thank God I've stopped sailing some time ago. This is huge. What's happening here is too fast for me to take, but I would really like the youngsters, the master candidates from HIMT, to give us a feedback if you thought this is a little overwhelming. So how many overwhelming? Okay. If you are a little younger, you would have said underwhelmed, but thank you, all of you speakers. It's a stellar gathering. It's a proud moment for us at the Nautical Institute. I think we have, in our last 10 years, broken all records. I have never seen an attendance like this in any Nautical Institute gathering. I know it's not me, it's not my tie. So wonderful presentations by all of you. You've come from all over the place. Not to miss you, Stefan. Thank you for being there despite missing your visa. So without much ado, we are about 15 minutes behind schedule, which is not too bad. But a couple of ground rules as I moderate. This is quite a daunting task. I haven't handled such a big gathering out here. For those of you who are below 70 years, just keep it to a single question and not an observation. So I don't know, Captain Vivekanand, where you want to place yourself there. But Captain Rajkumar, I will allow an observation because he is our first Nautical Institute chairman. We'd love to hear his views. I'm sure he has quite a few questions to, or observations to make on the human element and the soft issues that we didn't perhaps address enough. So I'm sure you will come up with that. What exactly happens to us? What kind of training, reskilling needs we need in this fast emerging world? There are a couple of more elements of this digitization that we didn't have because the speakers were unable to make it. One was on the weather forecast system. That's also gone by leaps and bounds. And the other is the satellite communications. I tried to get Anshul Khanna from Station Satcom, but Surendran here is there to fill up in his place. But on the other hand, I think at my age, this is enough. It's a lot of technology for me to take in one afternoon. So without much ado, shall I get on? Questions, gentlemen? Yes, Nandu. Can you pass the mic around, please, somebody? Yeah, there's a mic here. Will Stephen join us for the cocktail virtually? Virtual cocktail, Stephen? Beer?
I've got a beer here.
Oh, lovely.
No problem. I'm German.
Yeah, I have a question for Captain Amit Hanshu. He mentioned about being transparent in say either the bunker requisition and bunker matters using blockchain. I suppose it's blockchain, but and maybe other issues. Transparent. They even use blockchain for e-commerce. But don't you think by being that transparent, you are compromising on your competitiveness? Do you want to divulge your secrets to the other company? How do you ensure secrecy?
Yeah, so what I was talking about transparency was transparency about the data of the pool partners. So they would be able to see the performance of their ships. But when it comes to looking at the competition, there are a lot of things that we do not, like one person will not be able to see about the others. So we are transparent in terms of our financial records to the partner. What is happening, why it is happening, what is the way forward, things like that. So it is not that we are sharing the information which should not be shared. So it is limited to that aspect only. I'm sorry if I meant like, looked like as if I was trying to say that we are transparent in all the ways, but we are transparent to our partners because we are in service industry as well, as Mustanker also owns 5 pools. So then transparency, financial transparency, and why they are getting what they are getting, things like that.
Thank you.
Mic and circulate around. Who's next? Right, Captain Rajkumar, observation. Share your thoughts, sir.
Thank you for the program, Captain Krish and Captain Ajay. The last 2 speakers particularly appealed to most of us, at least to me. Thank you, both of you. The first and the second speaker left me dazed and still spinning. I have not recovered from that exactly. My question, I have been a casualty surveyor for about 43 years. My question is specific to only one area, as I believe that this digital ship in many areas is very supportive, like dry docking, repairs, stores, inventory, payroll. Beautiful, no question. But when it comes to the human element, what exactly are you exactly envisaging? Because I have come from an old school, as he correctly said, also plus 70s. I am not young like Captain Vivekanand. I show my hair on my head, whereas he doesn't have any. See, have a look. This is opposite, of course. Okay, jokes aside, what is your focus on human element? Anyone can take it. Because if an algorithm is going to tell me what I'm supposed to do, I think it's a terrible state of affairs. If a WhatsApp is going to tell me what we are doing for food and dating and whatever it is that's nowadays seen on the, please, skill, experience, knowledge, time, and whatever that goes with what you call seamanship cannot be done on an app. This is my submission. I leave it to the House. Thank you.
So who's brave enough to take that on?
I can start.
Fine, you go first, Ramesh.
I need to clarify it there. Yes.
I must admit, I have been in casualty investigation, especially the Dawn Kanchipuram was my job.
Yeah.
One more officers here. And this was what made me wake up that all the instrumentation did not prevent the accident, nor ECDIs. Huh?
Yep. No, I think maybe it was the way it was presented, but the idea is not to replace the human, it is just to assist the human with relevant information. So that's what it was. Basically, earlier it used to be people giving in information through a user interface where they key in saying that this was my consumption and this was the time it took and these were the values and figures. But right now, because the same information is available inside an ECDIS or it is already available inside the sensor system on board, we are just using that information to develop the intelligence. So it's ultimately the captain who is taking the decision. There is no change to that ultimately.
Right.
Automatic navigation is far ahead. I mean,
Okay. To add to this, a thought from the e-navigation strategy that we were working on with the Nautical Institute and the Ayala. Well, this was 10 years ago, so I think much water has flown. But at that point in time, we were looking at the machines being a decision support system for the mariner. So it was a mariner-centric world. But as usual, in 10 years, much disruption has happened. So we are hurtling quite rapidly towards perhaps, as you rightly say, eliminating or at least eliminating the kind of human element that we have today. So we are probably not looking at an elimination of human beings altogether, but a different type, different mariner profile that we need, a different type of skill sets. Because one of the philosophies of I think Captain Somasundaram, I recall many years ago, put it very beautifully. He said human beings are not hardwired for routine tasks, repetitive tasks we screw up. I think we all know that. We have spent the last 10 years in this forum talking about 80% of all the incidents happening through human element. But what human beings are really good at, and machines are not, algorithms are not, is at intuitive responses, at handling situations which are not programmed by any computer. So in a serious emergency, in an absolutely disastrous condition, human beings excel at that, especially those with high levels of resilience. But when it comes to repetitive tasks, I think lower order functions should be left to machines. If we discussed this many years ago, I still remember your words. But Stefan, you want to add something to that? I think I saw you put up your hand. Or was it a beer?
Yeah, only a short example. Let's compare this with Google Maps. Yeah, Google Maps is showing you how to get fast from one point to another and also safe. And but still, the driver of the car has to drive the car. Yeah, but he don't have to handle a paper chart in the car while driving anymore.
Okay,
and that is the same.
He's still selling ELCs.
Yeah. So and that is what we don't want to get rid of the mariner on board. We only want to give him an easier base for decision making. And as you said, he has to do this intuitive decisions later on.
Fine. Thank you, Stefan.
Thanks, Stefan. I'll just add one more point to this. Actually, the key point when it comes to digitization of anything is efficiency. So the tools that are there for our usage, it's as simple as a hand phone. So the tasks that we used to do with the analog phone and a typewriter are actually combined in this, right? Communication is successful, communication is faster, and things have become easier. So it is not about replacement. I would say it's about assistance, and it is about increasing the efficiency of a human being. I think that is what digitization is about.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Continue with that. My name is Kripa Sagar. I am a sailing chief engineer. I would agree with him that this IT, which information which you are giving, fair enough, very good. It will be okay as long as the ship condition is perfect. I need to work with a ship which is very old, right? And now, the IT doesn't give only the data which he needs. It is always redundant. Plus his personal messages. And it affects the rest hours of the crew. So that need to be taken into consideration. If a master or a chief engineer gets his crew coming down for work without taking rest because he was getting the connectivity and he got whatever data he want, then what to do? This also needs to be discussed at the industry level. This could also be the reason where he said with all this data why there is a collision takes place. Thank you.
Amit, you want to take that on?
I think I would agree. I would rather agree, not because more people are on this side and lesser number of people are on this side. But I have also been a sailor. I think two of us and three from the same field. But I would rather agree. Of course, it's very interesting to see the Rolls-Royce video on the WhatsApp. But even in my presentation, when I was covering that topic, I used the word reassurance. So what digitization and artificial intelligence is doing is reassuring us that the decision that we are taking is most probably correct. Right. At the end of the day, we leave it up to the individuals because at least the horizon that I can see at the moment, we are far away from that.
Okay, I'll ping you with one more question before I go on to Murali to see how the telecom industry handled the fallout, if I may say. Amit, go first. What is the change in the, because Musk has been ahead in this game of digitization, and what is the change in the profile? What kind of skills are you now expecting on, not the old ships that Bada Sahab sailed on, but the fitted ships, the smart ships that you have? How fundamentally different is it? And more importantly, how behind are the regulations, STCW especially, in terms of catching up with the new profile of mariners that we need now?
Yeah, so STCW is doing its job, so I will not touch that.
They're not doing their job.
Okay.
I can tell you
then
that.
I have left sailing long time back. Okay. I assume that they would do that. As far as we are concerned, the team of people that come to our offices and see the new stuff, I think with a lot of gadgets, the only change that we are seeing is that they are more tech savvy, they know more of it. Even like I would rate, of course I am old, but I would rate myself much older when I meet a sailor who's sailing today. Like he will just touch the screen, do a lot of things. And I remember one day I was trying to teach my dad how to log into the ICICI Bank website and do the transaction in my absence. Right. And at the end of 10-15 minutes, he just said, "You moved so fast." I did not understand anything. So things are like that when we meet our own staff these days, they are way ahead.
Yeah, see, but sometimes I was recently in London and with a family on a bit of a vacation, and my wife is brilliant at this. She was using Google Maps to take me everywhere, and then she was going round and round in circles where I was standing next to her looking for the Westminster Abbey. And I said, if you just stop that and look up, it's right there. So do guys look out of the window or not? This is the big question. Yeah, Balu. Mike, please, somebody. Yeah.
Have you reduced the number of crew or officers because of that?
Not really, because there was a slide actually on that where we showed analytics, employees and processes. So we are using digitization big time to be more efficient, to make our decisions or to support our decisions more intelligently. We have not gone ahead and reduced the manning. As it is, we are running at very low this thing. So we have not reduced, and we do not intend to do that anytime in future. We also have to comply with the minimum safe manning thing. The whole intent of digitization, as far as Maersk is concerned, is in order to be more efficient, support our decisions, and look ahead.
So this
Triple
E ships going with 13 crew is not true, is it? Or I'm sorry, is that classified?
That's classified, I would say.
So is it?
Maybe he just wants to.
I'll just add one thought to his question. I think we might have to rephrase the question a little bit. So digitization is a broader topic, and probably what you're looking at answer is like an automation inside that. Right? So automation is what can replace people. Digitization not necessarily always will replace the people.
But aren't we going in that direction?
I think
Yes,
I'm free. I'm the Nautical Institute guy. Yes, we are going in that direction. I think there are constraints we can't say.
So I would say every industry is going in that direction. Not only
every
you.
industry. It's not just shipping.
Everybody is going.
So one moment. I wanted Murali to tell us how the telecom sector handled the fallout. I think there've been huge job cuts and stuff with the automation.
I think it's quite charitable in saying that we don't cut manpower and in fact we use it for efficiency. But at the end of the day, with due respect to all employees, it's not about cutting jobs, it's about how competitive you're going to be. And in fact, the point of automation and what is digitization is very clearly enunciated as what he was saying. The question is about, is it reality? I think it's reality. I think, why are we running away from that? And it was rightly mentioned by some of the people just saying this side in terms of helping us to do our job better. But the question is, there are going to be a lot of redundant jobs because of digitization. Let's not run away from that. I think that's true for me. I might lose my job tomorrow, for all you know. Issues that, therefore, what's going to happen and what skills are required. People are saying there are going to be thousands of jobs which are coming, which is what I said, millions of jobs which come, but which has nothing to do with jobs of today. So, if you are saying that digitization is not going to replace jobs, I think we'd be lying. Yes, it's true. But is it going to create more jobs and new ways of looking at things? Yes. Are you going to reskill yourself? Your call. And therefore, that's going to be the order of the day. Because everything is becoming real time. I think we have to accept that everything is becoming real time. So if it's going to be real time, information is no more knowledge. We used to have bosses who used to give us information saying that, you see, this is the latest development. As though that's knowledge. It was information. Now it's available everywhere. You go talk to your son. I talked to my son about cricket. Let me give a lighter example. We used to say that, in 1975, in that match, he scored some century at this average. My son says, you're wasting your RAM and ROM. It's available in Google. Just press any match you get. Right? Why are you wasting your time? Can you tell me what was good in the match and who bowled well? Right? Instead of that, you're claiming glory by talking about who scored that run, 221 not out, and which ball came left, right, and center, and all that. Complete waste of energy. So that's the direction you're going. The question is, do you know, you look at the commentary the way it's going. You were talking about he comes over the wicket, bowling, ball outside, and all that. Now, it's all known, no? So the question is, if you still want that commentary to come in the television, you start hating it. So that's the reality.
Right.
That's the reality, if I can simplistically put it in terms of what's happening.
Okay. One moment, sir. Kalyan.
Your engine parameters, a whole gamut of operations have been taken into account. Now, you know very well, in the recent past, as you know pretty well, no criticism meant, there have been many accidents on container ships, super container ships. Maersk Kensington, Maersk Honam, then Yantai recently. And what way digitalization has changed the setup to prevent such accidents, because everything is being determined somewhere else and being loaded on the ship. On the trust and belief, everything is known to everybody. But does the master have the wherewithal to know everything? I don't think so, at this moment.
To that question, I would just like to add that my domain and of specialization is tankers. I'm not running away from that question. I'm not running away from that question because my colleague is working in the DG desk, my batchmate of Maersk Line, and in India, so he was very much involved. I don't know the outcome, but many accidents are happening because of misdeclaration. Because I did, of course, work in operations of container ships for about 1.5 years, and there were few accidents on my own ships which I was operating, and it was majorly because of misdeclaration. Actually, the manifest stated something, and actual content inside was very different.
I think, yeah, sometimes
Musk Honam, I think we all know. So it is more to do with something else than what digitization.
Yeah, I think we should not really blame technology for incidents unless it's been clearly established. And very often, I mean, we've been speaking about human element being the primary cause for donkey's years. So now it's not time to start to push the blame onto technology. But yes, there is a need for a dialogue. That's why organizations like NI exist, to keep that dialogue running, because if you think that technology can be stopped, you're like King Canute trying to hold the waves back. It's not going to happen. Have that engagement running. And we have time for 2 questions more. One, Captain Mehta.
Sir,
yeah.
Good evening. Sir,
Mike, please.
Sir, hold on. One small question for Mr. Captain Amit. One of the disruptive technologies, 3D printing, I thought you will be opening up that subject. Some Musk ships, we have already installed 3D printing machines. What I have
This is the problem of you being on the social media, Musk. We get to know more
no,
about
they
Musk than
only
probably
installed. How is the development? How is it going on now? Like 3D printing machines.
So 3D printing, of course, is very, very interesting topic. We do have certain things to create spares and a lot of things, but we are not going big time on that. There were some experiments that were done. Of course, we installed on certain ships. Like one of the things that I showed about the Flettner rotor. So it is in the experimentation stage. So, and that's why I distanced from that topic, because it is more of experiment than the actual practical things happening at the moment.
Right. Captain Mehta. Mike, please. Gentlemen, pass the mic around briskly. Yeah, thanks.
We are placing a lot of, I'm regional, the whole thing.
Are you plus 70? Are you plus 70 or?
No, then I can keep. Was this plus 70 or minus 70 for the panel as well? Like how many questions? Because I am being bombarded. And
I know. You are the
No, you are placing too much something on the artificial intelligence. Ultimately, it will begin somewhere with somewhere human, some input. If that is wrong, by the time you detect something is wrong, I think it will be too late and maybe a catastrophe. Can you please throw on the light that what precautions are there in this?
Yeah, but as of today, if you see AI in marine domain, it's hardly anywhere that you have actually made inroads AI into marine domain. AI is, it's Google provides algorithms, and other industries may be using it very, very effectively. But unless you get into the control system, unless you get into the feedback system, which is the first step, how is AI going to help you in terms of decision making or feedback? I don't think AI is anywhere close to, as far as I understand, in the marine domain.
Okay. Anybody wants to hit on the predictive science, predictive
that
data
is machine
science?
learning. Yes, machine learning to an extent has come into the industry.
Gentlemen, pipe down, please. We have 5 minutes more. We'll have a couple of questions, but yeah, let's pay attention.
Yeah, machine learning to that extent has come into the industry. AI is kind of, the thinking part of it is not modeled yet, as far as the marine domain is concerned. Maybe machine learning to an extent, because the same thing that a chief engineer would look at hundreds of times in hundreds of ships and various patterns that he would have inside his mind, basically, that is kind of analyzed through a set of data. So that is kind of more plausible when you look at it like that. So that is something which is happening in the industry, but not AI for sure. Machine learning, yes.
When you say not, you mean not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Captain Vivekanand.
My question for Captain Amit.
No. He's finished his quota actually. What about
your officers on board ship now? Are they able to cope with this digitalization, these rapid changes in technology? Yeah. Some senior officers will be at sea. They have much before all this happened, and we got youngsters who are into the digitalization. In your opinion, do you think they are all able to cope with these rapid changes?
Thanks to, I think, SIRE system and OCIMF.
Yes.
Whenever there is a change, I think they always go back and check how your officers are trained. So, I mean, when ECDIS came, we all had to undergo, then type-specific course
Yes.
came into picture. So, likewise, there are a lot of things. Then you have to also comply with certain requirements of oil majors, where what you invest in training your staff and all. So, because of all that pressure, I would not say whether we would have done it otherwise, but because of that, there are a lot of in-house courses which I'm sure not only Maersk but the other companies are also doing, wherein you have to bring your people either through officers seminar or maybe courses done in-house where you familiarize them with the new technology. Of course, hands-on experience is only given on board, but I think all the companies are very much into that, wherein they want to train their officers.
So you're quite confident that they can handle this?
I would
But
like
after
to...
seeing Mr. Stefan's ECDIS display, it's quite frightening.
Yes.
Whether youngsters on board can actually handle that kind of ECDIS operations. I mean, as a master, I would hesitate to put a man into the ECDIS unless he knows how to handle it.
Stephen, you want to take that? Now I'm getting shaky and less confident.
Can you repeat the question once again?
So, Stefan, what I wanted, we saw your presentation on the ECDIS, and it was rather frightening, asking officers to do all that you did on the ECDIS. Are you confident ship's officers can handle that?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So as I said, it is an issue about they will not be able to handle this every from the first day, but with a good training that I also presented there, then yes, they will be able to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Gentlemen, we are really, I mean, I know there's plenty of questions booming. Just to spread the load and take the heat off Amit, I have a question for Mayuran on liability and you know, the legal aspects. Could you want to expand on that? I mean, as we move not just towards digital ships, we come from a legal framework where the master and the ship remains responsible for safe operations and all the overriding decisions. So from a legal and a liability perspective, what is the digital ship going to do? I am coming from the place where decisions are moved, or if not decisions, there's a lot of interaction. Ship-shore is pretty much seamless. So where are we going? I mean, forget about the autonomous ship where there are no people on the bridge. I don't know how that liability is going to be handled. But right now, as we move evolutionarily, where do you think?
So honestly, I don't want to answer in a specific way because I don't belong to this industry and my knowledge about this industry is less. No. But I can take a situation of blockchain, right? So there is a lot of questions around how do you regularize blockchain or cryptocurrency, right? This is a huge debate. Some countries have already accepted it and they've brought in regulation, right? And some countries, India, we are not accepted it. We don't accept any cryptocurrency or any blockchain as of now. But there are organizations who are doing it in an unregulated way, with a set of protocol within themselves, like how especially in banks, right? They do blockchain in the trade finance. Okay. So that brings a lot of transparency across how the transaction is happening, how the payment is happening, what are the nodes, and that's completely transparent. Okay. So again, transparent within the stakeholders, right? So this goes back to your first question. Will the competition know? No, because they are not involved in the process, right? So this is an evolving area, honestly, right? Okay. But I don't know how we'll apply this to your scenario, honestly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think Kushal, you had a question. Yeah. One moment. Kushal has been waiting for some time now. Somebody pass the mic, please.
You see, the ship is operated by officers and engineers who are issued certificates of competency. Now, is the method of examination for issuing certificate of competency keeping pace with digitization? If not, what is the industry doing to give this a boost to the examining authorities and bringing it at par?
Kushal, I'll take that question. We did invite POMMD. Is he here? No, he's not here. Well, there you go. That's your answer. So no, I honestly think it's even at the STCW level, we are far behind. In fact, STCW at IMO was struggling to cope up with 2010, and we were already talking e-navigation in 2007. So now e-learning. So that I think we need to move beyond expecting regulators to sort of bring some order and standardization, we need to look at, I don't know, maybe other bodies like the Institute of Marine Engineers and Nautical Institute, CMMI, to set the standards. Honestly, I mean, work collaboratively and move ahead. So, terrific. Mike, please.
You see, we just built 3 hybrid DP2 ships, and they were prototype. One was in China by Siemens, and the other one was in India. So the Mumbai Siemens is now the hub for hybrid engines that Siemens has got, which is as state of the art as you can get. Now, old fogies like me were really daunted. First, it takes some time to understand, when you're building. But finally, the fundamentals of physics, Newton's laws don't change. So, if you have done your physics well, if you know your fundamentals well, you don't need to go and get yourself puzzled over some gimmicks which are there on the television.
Fair enough.
So don't get psyched out. It's like the new automated car. I got a gearless car. I don't know how the gearless car has planetary gears as opposed to the old kind of gears which you've got for geared cars. But I can drive it just as well. Thank you.
Fair enough. RK, well done, well said. RK, please. Yeah.
My question is only this. I am part old timer, part new timer, fundamentally. Before going into, can you hear?
Yep.
Before going into that, I know technology is on, and I'm going little more focused on autonomous. The theme was more autonomous, not just digitalization. I would like to know what is the regimen, like even if you take your collision regulations, these manufacturers, vendors, there are a lot of them, if they are supplying an equipment, like a fully automated ship from Rolls-Royce, will Rolls-Royce take the liability in case there is a collision? Or at least will they take a portion, 50% of the liability from the ship owner?
Yeah, if you pay the premium,
I mean, I had a word with Krish also on that, but that means you are passing on the buck, you're selling a product, and you're, how much of your data, how much of the data is verified by you?
Okay, I think
that's something which we need to look at it before going blindly into some mathematically probability derived formula on digitalization and statistics, just basing everything on statistics without, like what Krish said, the intuition part of the whole thing. And finally, at the end of the day, if a liability, a manufacturer is not willing to accept a liability, but he says it can be autonomous, this is something which I think they should answer that.
I think
why they are not willing to walk their talk.
RK, I need to, I think I'll pass that on to Jay. Hold on. We'll pass that question to Captain TR. This time it's 15 seconds.
Okay. The answer is no. The answer is no for Rolls-Royce. I've got a concrete example. A scientific research vessel is fitted with a system by Rolls-Royce, and after the vessel is commissioned, the sensor system for bunkers in tanks can't be fixed, simply because it's broken. So I rang them up. I said, how do you expect us to measure it? He said, no, you do it the usual way. I said, it doesn't have a sounding pipe even. Now, I come from the old 70 plus age, where a sounding pipe was not very difficult to fit. To fix a calibrated flow meter and fix it, to gauge a tank, all the three we know how to do it. The stupid system, I asked, we are pretty senior, so we can ask such questions. Old people are given that favor. I'm sorry, I have to tell this. So I rang up the head office and asked, how did you achieve this? No, Sab, the chief engineer knows, he estimates the bunker consumption. Now, being old, I'm a little stupid. I didn't get the hint. I said, if he's stranded at sea, you bloody idiot, he will have to come for a call for a tug and tow it inside. That's unfair to the chief engineer. I, as a marine surveyor, will not accept. He said, kuch kar do, Saab. 43 years, kuch kar do, Saab. I've seen too much of it.
Right.
Too much of it.
Okay.
Lastly, it was not repaired for 3 years. What was the reason? Rolls-Royce cost too damn much to visit India and check it up. Mind you, not the repair cost. Thank you, sir.
It's a delight to have you here, Captain, because I thought, you know, these gentlemen gave us a reality check, but I think you are giving a reverse reality check. Yeah. Sanjeev, second last. I mean, after this, I'll throw it to the youngsters, and we'll close with that. We always have dinner to go into. Sanjeev.
Yeah, my question is to Mr. Ramesh. Since you have been at sea as well as you have started up a IT.
A little louder, closer.
Yeah. So, do you think that okay, to replace the IT technology guys would be able to do it, or the seafarers themselves will be able to do it? So, training part itself is going to change. As we told, ST3 is going to change. There's going to be new ST3 going to come in. It's only for autonomous ships. So, is it okay?
I think all of this is going to evolve, like what he was saying about the sensors and the sounding pipes and all this kind of stuff. Yes, there will be problems like this which will go on for some time, and that is something which is inevitable in any evolution. But I would say things that are going to happen in terms of immediately what is going to happen is, earlier the chief engineer was physically looking at gauges, things, and then the number of data inputs that he had to process and get the output, the number of considerations was a little. He was limited to what was available on the ship. Today's chief engineer has to process commercial information and analyzed information which is given to him to make a decision. So that's the first part. So the first part is he has to be aware what are the data points that he has to consider to make a decision. So that's something which has already crept in. Like when Maersk came up with this MSPS and the analysis, they started thinking how weather is affecting their vessel. Earlier it was just run the ship, run the engine most efficiently. So I think it is very slow. I agree that the industry is moving very slow. I think the first steps will be the increase in the data points and how you model your decision making on. And then beyond that, yes, all of this, the training, what you're talking about, completely autonomous ships are all coming in. That said, I should agree to this one point that there is no strong one single movement in that direction when it comes to marine industry. People are very slow to accept it in terms of industry itself. Right. Each equipment manufacturer is protecting his own interest. The seafarer is looking at his interest basically, whereas software service providers are looking at their interest selling their IP. So it has not come to that stage where the autonomous ship can happen anytime soon, but the number of data points that comes to a decision making is going to increase by the day. And as we were talking about the competency of the new guys who are coming in, they should be aware of that dimension. The chief engineers and the captains who are coming in, they should be aware of that dimension, that it's not conventional data processing and analysis and decision making which is happening right now. There are more things which are coming into the...
Okay, thanks. Thanks. I think the key word here is redundancy, and that's a great takeaway, Captain Rajkumar. I think if ever we build a digital ship, we'll make sure there are sounding pipes, there are sextants. Captain Vasudevan, yeah, quick one. Mike.
Not a question to the panel of experts. Maybe as a society, not shipping anywhere, standardization is the answer. For example, you just now told me car makers. I don't have to ask someone, give me a car key, I don't have to ask you how to start it. Why is it the new technology can't standardize and make it easy for the next generation? That's all.
Pity, is anybody from LR here yet? Anil promised to be here. Anil Kumar is not here, IRS is not here. So this was a very important question. Anybody wants to take it on, or we can say that there is...
That is completely accepted. That standardization in the industry, whether it is equipment, whether it is softwares, whether it is the data formats, it has crept in very, very slowly. Even when someone introduces it, it has crept in very slowly. Everyone wants to compete against every new standard.
And as far as IPR is concerned, let's say a piece of soap to use on my body. There are millions of soaps in the market.
But
I don't have to ask him. I don't have to ask him how to use it. And the customer will pay for whatever he wants. So you give me digitization, tell me the ship ought to be run this way, but make it easy. Tell me I need to, an airline pilot.
Captain Vasu, yesterday I was having a chat with Anil Kumar from LR. They are already working with shipyards and they are coming up with semi-autonomous notations. So the standardization, I presume there's a lot of technical body of work that has gone into certifying. So it's happening, but it's work in progress. I think we'll leave it at that. Youngsters, one last question, if at all you want to ask, and that's it. We will close for the evening.
90% of the world looking for Wi-Fi like this. So it's very too early to discuss about this.
The point is that we need to, when we are looking at a vision going forward, we need to look at automation, but the steps, we need to address the key challenges, that's for sure.
Yeah, but it's very too early, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for transactional level, maybe for a sailor, when you're sailing, yes, it may be too early, but in terms of technology, in terms of leadership, we need to look at solutions in that direction. Basically.
I think autonomous ship doesn't mean that all the ships will become autonomous on, June 21st, 2025. No, that's not going to happen. They got to build autonomous ships. There are going to be existing ships. And like everything else in IMO, it will all move in a gentle Ganga-like flow, and we'll get there. Gentlemen and ladies, thank you very much. Anup, we are absolutely out of time. Can you take it? Can you take it during the dinner? Because I have absolutely run out of time. I'm so sorry about that. Right. Thank you. I'll hand it over to Ajay. Now we have to move on with the rest of the program because there are people wanting to catch flights and trains. So, Ajay.
Thanks so much. Thank you, speakers. Thanks, Krish. I'm sure there are a lot more questions. I hope the speakers are gracious enough to be with us for some more time. You can shoot the questions during the networking session. Moving on, I think I have handing over the daunting task of summing up the whole presentations, the seminar today to Captain Nandakumar. He's got a train to catch as well, so he's been waiting. Captain Nandakumar, please.
Everybody remembers probably the idiom, as you sow, so you reap. Somebody said that ship owners and ship operators who do not take a leap into technology, their ships have not sailed either. Their engines are running. Even the Iranian president, just a few days back I came across in the newspaper, even the Iranian president has recently said that resistance against new technologies is outdated. Say 20 years ago, there was no competition. The ship owners or the charterers, they found easy business. But now it's all disrupted. I joined sea in 1977. And a lot of changes have taken place. In fact, I have seen the old and I'm seeing the new also. Those days, about communication, if you receive one message, that's something on board, there's something has happened, But nowadays, with the communications around, so master has to spend almost 18-20 hours on with the communication. And also about position reporting. There used to be just one position reporting in a day, and now Big Daddy is watching you all the time. Everybody knows your position. On the mobile, it's available where you are. There is no question of fudging. You cannot cheat the system. And I have an anecdote here. The other day we were playing a cricket match. I had a technical superintendent in my team, and even before we could enter the field as a fielding team, he had a problem. There was a call from the ship, from the chief engineer, from one of his managed ships, and he said they have a main engine turbocharger problem. They had a breakdown, and this guy had his mobile in his pocket on the field, and he used to communicate at the change of the over every few minutes, and once in a while he used to dash to the pavilion to communicate on email. Of course, on one side, one way you look at it, the communication has grown by leaps and bounds, but at the same time, if you see that, if only there had been technology had been used, if only there had been real-time monitoring, this breakdown could have been avoided. We call this disruptive technology, but I wouldn't call it disruptive. I would call it evolution. It's similar to what had happened ashore before. Earlier we had dial-up connections, then slowly it progressed on to ISDN, then DSL and Wi-Fi, what have you. But now in shipping, it's about coverage, bandwidth, speed, stable, efficient connectivity, and types of technology. It's not just one technology. We have many technologies and across all areas of business. So we have to remove the technology from the hype. This event was specifically organized to address these issues or to examine some of the current, emerging and planned future developments in the technology for shipping market. Yeah, we are at a point where the traditional way of running things would have to work along with the latest technology which is coming in on a day-to-day basis. We will have both running for some time. And to use some jargon, operational technology network, that's what we call steering, propulsion and ballasting systems which we've been having all this while. They have to run in tandem with IP networking. As soon as RJ45 comes in the mix, then you have a problem. Even the operation technology gets affected. Probably there's some way to tackle this. Probably you have you have a converter, and probably the converter can be protected against cyber attacks and things like that, right? And then we spoke about smart ships. Smart ships it's just about appearing, and the push for big data are around new buildings only at present. When there is a clear possibility of probably you won't even imagine, that's about 10,000, 12,000 sensors we are talking about. But still, there are ominous signs, if I may use the word, that it would soon be here in plenty. Oil majors and charterers, they are very choosy nowadays. They want to know whether your ship has got VSAT or not. They want to know whether your crew, this is very important from the human element point of view. They want to know whether the crew have Wi-Fi or internet. That becomes very important. And they are looking real added value from the technology. Then blockchain, we spoke about blockchain. Blockchain technology is already being used in container transport, bunker supply. Recently, in fact, last month there was a bunker contract open in Netherlands using this blockchain technology when they were ordering bunker supplies. And I think even Maersk has used this blockchain for bunker orders and inventory control. In fact, I have downloaded yesterday the Maersk app for container booking online. You can do it as simple as booking a railway ticket or a flight ticket, and it's that simple. No. Bitcoin perhaps, I don't know. Yeah, now from my organization point of view, I work with fleet management. We are also well on our way towards digitization. A few of the things which I would like to highlight here. Almost all our vessels are equipped with VSAT along with FBB connectivity to tackle in case there is poor coverage. We can still use FBB connectivity. And majority of new buildings are coming up or equipped with VSAT communications. Then large-scale data collection for as part of EU MRV, that is the monitoring, reporting, verification for CO2 emissions, as part of IMO's DCS for energy efficiency and emission control is already underway and has been going for past 1 year. That's in our Paris. That's the planning and reporting infrastructure for ship, which we already have. In fact, fleet has got a contract with ABS for collating this information. For egg disk, we use Navtor services. And there are other service providers also, but most of the ships are covered with Navtor. And Nav Tracker, NavSync, NavStick, they are all part of the worldwide coverage of ENC. And as Stefan mentioned, they have this system of pay as we sail. We also have that, and we utilize the the charts, the usage. You are paying according to the usage of the charts. And he mentioned one other gadget where you don't need to insert USB. Actually, nowadays it's very simple. And things are changing fast. And the second mate's job, in fact, with egg disk has become very, very simple. And there's a lot of free time for him to carry out other work on the bridge. Life has become quite comfortable with egg disk, with all these latest equipment. Then we use the planned maintenance system and Paris for e-procurement as well. We can place our orders and our inventory is controlled using this platform. Then position reports and engine performance monitoring, data collection presently is all part of Paris. Just a few minutes. Then the critical functions, including egg disk communication systems, have already been hardened against cyber attacks. In fact, we have the cyber security plan now, and chief engineer, incidentally, chief engineer is the cyber security officer. So a lot of additional jobs thrust on him. And for the hardening measures are generally firewalls, the antivirus system on a daily automatic update basis to protect all the networked PCs on board, including egg disk. And egg disk, all these ports are blocked either by hardware or software. And we have as the cyber security, when you spoke, it was mentioned that familiarization is one of the important aspects. Then one other thing regarding the human element I mentioned regarding the Wi-Fi and internet facilities, the free corporate allowance for crew internet and availability of private data for purchase is also has been provided. And a new initiative, latest initiative by the company is the crew participation in the company's social media, in Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. There are competitions which are taking place and officers are freely interacting with the company. Feedbacks are also sought. So to accommodate all these changes in technology, as part of the management of change, all the management manuals have been revised exhaustively and they have been compressed. Even the checklists, they are in the format, in the template format, which is very easy, and so we don't have laborious hours filling up several logbooks. So after having said all this, and at this junction of rapid induction of technology, but there is still some mistrust in the technology. For example, now the GPS is a very important aspect. GPS feed to the egg disk is a very important aspect. But still, we distrust the GPS. We need to carry out frequent position verification. And in fact, in an audit, the auditors will require documents, the records to be shown of how often we are doing the position checks, which is required to be about 10-15 minutes. So what will happen if GPS is not trustworthy? In a few years, we are going to have autonomous ships. So how is this going to be tackled? That is an issue to be borne in mind. UMS class vessels, even though vessels are certified as UMS class, there is a need for human entry to carry out certain checks. So that means UMS class is still, we need to think a lot about it and make it more reliant. There are also the side effects of technology, that is a human element, circadian rhythms to be considered in whatever we do. Imagine in a family, all of us are sitting together with the mobile and each one looking into the mobile, and there is no interaction. And communication internally is very important. So at this juncture, as a sailing master, what I am looking for me at present, the most important things are a happy crew, getting regular disk updates and making best use of eNav features, and bridge team still using their Mark 1 eyeball to ensure the situation outside reflects whatever is seeing on the monitors. So until then, until our journey to reach the autonomous ship ends, I would expect these things. So thanks for your patient attention. Thank you.
Thanks, Captain Nanda. I know it's a very difficult task to put it all together within 15 minutes. Thank you very much, Captain Nanda. Now, we'd like to felicitate the speakers for taking time off and be with us and share their thoughts with us. As a token of appreciation, we would like to present a memento to each of the speakers. To start with, can I request Captain Vivekanand, please, to hand over the memento to Captain Amit Anshu, please. I know he was in the line of fire today. A lot of heat here. Okay, now request Captain Dhiren Bhatia, Secretary, Company of Master Mariners of India, Chennai chapter, to hand over the memento to Stephen Dinke. Sion would receive it on his behalf. Stephen, this is for you, Stephen. The virtual. Next, I request Mr. I.M. Rao to present the memento to Mr. S. Murli. Mr. I.M. Rao. I think he's left. Okay. Okay, can I request Captain Rajkumar? Thank you, sir. Can I request Mr. Kushal Roy, Chairman, Institute of Marine Engineers, Chennai branch, to hand over the memento to Mr. Ramesh Iyer. Thank you, sir. I request Captain Krishnamurthy to hand over the memento to Mr. Mayuran. And finally, Mr. Vakil to hand over the memento to Captain Nandakumar. Thank you. Oh, okay. Yeah, incidentally, that I think the ties are sponsored by HIMT. Thank you, sir. Finally, towards the end of the program, now I would request Captain N. Kumar to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. I'll not take very long. It's my pleasure to propose a vote of thanks. We thank Captain Amit Anshu of Maersk Tankers to have come here and delivered a very informative keynote address. Thank you, sir. We thank Mr. Stefan, MD of Chartworld, for his presentation through Skype, video call, conference call on e-navigation. Thank you very much. Many thanks to Mrs. Sion of Chartworld, who has made a lot of effort. I have been seeing this from afternoon to make sure the presentation goes very, very smooth. We also would like to thank Mr. Ramesh Iyer of Mariapps for his address on shipboard technology application. Thank you, sir. We would like to thank Mr. Murali, Business Head of Vodafone Idea Limited, to have taken time out of his busy schedule to be here with us and demystifying data science for us. Thank you, sir. We place on record our sincere thanks to Mr. Mayuran, Director Risk Consultancy and IT Advisory of KPMG, for his address on cyber security. Thank you, sir. Many thanks to Captain Nandakumar, our own Nautical Institute Vice President, for his own summation of what they said. Thank you very much. We also would like to thank CMMI for being with Nautical Institute in organizing this seminar. Our sincere thanks to Captain Ajay for all his efforts and coordination work. May I request a round of applause for the efforts that he has taken to ensure the smooth conduct of today's seminar. We also would like to thank Chartwell Private Limited for being a sponsor for today's event. Thanks a lot. Many thanks are due to all the Nautical Institute committee members for their support or the lack of it, and in particular Ms. Yuvarani of Nautical Institute for all her help. Thank you very much. We thank Hotel Savera for all the arrangements. Many thanks are due to all of you, the audience, for having come here today and for very enthusiastic participation in the interactive session. Thanks a lot. Have a great weekend ahead and dinner time. Thank you.
Yes, please rise for the national anthem, please.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे